If you've ever been extremely tired and barely clinging to consciousness, but just enough to watch your Chicago Bears get a win, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. That's right. It's Tuesday, October 14th. It's Victory Tuesday. It's also a T3 Tuesday. We're going to have Adam Mesh on here today. Cannot wait to dive in. Markets pulling back here a little bit. Should be easy to find relative strength today. We've got a little bit of news to go over, and we started bank earnings this morning. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, all of them out. Citigroup slated to report this morning. BlackRock reporting here this morning. So a lot of earnings starting off now. It's going to be a big earnings season, I think, and it starts here today. So we're going to break it all down. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook for Tuesday, October 14th, a Victory Tuesday, starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful rest of your Monday evening, and I hope that things are going well for you here today. You know they're going well for me. Sun-Kissed Yogi is first here today. Good morning, Sun-Kissed Yogi. Early bird gets the worm. That's 2 days in a row for our resident yogi here. Really good stuff. Good morning. Good morning, Brian. I know Ryan's happy today. How about them Bears? The Chicago Bears found a way to win a football game instead of kicking it away at the end, which I did think they were going to do for a little bit. But yes, I'm quite happy. Also, the Chicago Blackhawks got their first win last night. So it was a good sports night, no doubt. Francis, good morning. Welcome back. Azrar, good morning. Welcome back. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Peter, good morning. Zach, good morning. Kelly O, good morning. Kona, good morning. Big Bear Hug, good morning. Big Abees, welcome back. AC, good morning. Big Dave, good morning. Alvin, good morning. X-Sniper, good morning. Jim Ferrari, good morning and welcome back. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Carl, it's good to see you again. Jay Grant, Brandy, and Sam Bellanti. I almost called you Bellatini. Sorry about that. Good morning. Welcome back. Good morning from tropical and sunny Nebraska. That's not what I had on my bingo card here today, but good morning. What is the temperature in Nebraska? It's actually a little bit cool here in Chicago. Corey, good morning. Just passing through. Good morning. Dan, good morning. Vic AI, good morning. Kel, good morning. Producer, good morning. Shout out to the Bears, the football ones, not the market ones. Looks like we got the market ones here today. Will they stick around or will they collapse in the fourth quarter? We'll have to find out. Stay tuned for that. Dara, good morning. Cam, good morning. Graf, good morning. Maverick, welcome back. Reaching Financial Freedom, good morning. Durkis, Angelo, and Maz, good morning. Workstation, All That Glitters. Mark, another Mark. Lambo Rolls, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Degraded Wallow. Good morning. I hope I pronounced your name correct there. Hoot, good morning. Tori, good morning. Tyshawn, good morning. Kevin and Righteous Life, good morning. JJ, JL, Arhan, Chuck, and Cecilia, good morning. Owen, good morning. Faves, good morning. Andrew and Candace and Selena, good morning. Also, good morning, Peter. All right. First snow of the season in the Sierras, Kevin. That I bet it's picturesque. I bet a snowy mountain scene, very, very picturesque. I bet that is absolutely awesome. Good morning, Johnny. Good morning, Yes, That Girl. Let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures under pressure here today. S&P futures down 0.93%, Dow futures down 0.66%, and NASDAQ leading the way lower at minus 0.12%. Gold futures up by nearly 2% here in the pre-market. Let's go to our cues from the last session. Information technology, consumer discretionary, and communication services stocks recorded the biggest gains on Monday, leading most sectors on the S&P 500 to a positive close. However, consumer staples and healthcare stocks bucked the overall market trend, closing the session lower. This rally saw U.S. stocks settle higher, with the NASDAQ composite gaining more than 2% as President Trump softened his tone on China, reversing Friday's sell-off and reigniting risk appetite. Leading the charge on Monday was Oracle, ticker ORCL. Shares jumped more than 5%, while NVIDIA gained almost 3%, and Broadcom soared around 10% after OpenAI pledged a $500 billion investment to co-develop 10 gigawatts of custom AI accelerators with the chipmaker. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the ongoing government shutdown has started to affect the real economy, and accused the mainstream media of, quote, downplaying the shutdown, end quote, to, quote, avoid embarrassing Democrats, end quote, further exacerbating the public's understanding of the situation's severity. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.01% and the 2-year bond at 3.47%. Remember, we would really like to see that Treasury bond yield under 4%, so we're moving in the right direction, but not quite there yet. We do have some stocks in focus here today because this morning, or today, is the start of the new earnings season. We kicked it off with the banks here today. First one on the list is going to be Goldman Sachs. They fell 0.6 ahead of its earnings before the opening bell. Analysts estimate $11 per share on revenue of $14.1 billion. Goldman Sachs had an EPS of 12.25, which beat that estimate, and sales of $15 billion, which beat the $14.1 billion estimate. Goldman Sachs trading lower now in the pre-market despite that beat. The conference call is ongoing. JP Morgan was up 0.5 as analyst earnings estimates of $4.84 per share on revenue of $45.39 billion. JP Morgan had an EPS of 5.07, which beat the $4.84 estimate, and sales of $47.12 billion. That ended up beating the $45 billion estimate. JP Morgan, too, trading lower here today. Closed at 307.97 yesterday, currently trading exactly at 307 now. So down marginally, but still down on the back of that beat. Johnson & Johnson, ticker JNJ, that was 0.23% lower ahead of its earnings before the opening bell. Analysts estimate earnings of $2.75 per share on revenue of $23.74 billion. Johnson & Johnson did an EPS of $2.80, which beat that $2.75 estimate, and sales were $23.99 billion versus the $23.74 billion that was estimated. Johnson & Johnson here in the pre-market currently sitting at $190.90, pretty much right where it closed. Johnson & Johnson shares flat here. Citigroup, also slated to report earnings. Citi was 0.44% higher as analysts' estimates for earnings per share of $190 on a revenue of $21.09 billion before the opening bell. I actually don't have Citi's earnings here yet. I'm not sure that they've reported. Citi here in the pre-market currently sitting at 96.40. It closed at 96.10, so roughly flat here today. Last stock on our list here is Polaris. Shares climbed 10.98% as it entered into a definitive agreement to sell a majority stake in Indian Motorcycle to an independent private equity firm, Carrollwood LP. That is ticker PII, Polaris. All right, we're going to go back to the SPY and start with that. Again, really glad we left some of these upper boundary horizontal lines that we had added as resistance areas on the chart. We talked yesterday about the market pulling back, giving up the 20-day, and really kind of bouncing off of the 50-day. Yesterday's session ended up finishing notably because we tested the 20-day, but simply did not have the strength to move through it. Today, we find ourselves lower here. S&P futures now down 0.9% ahead of the open. This means that our key levels are going to be pretty clear here today. I would definitely want to look at yesterday's low. We have that here at 659.77. It's only about 2 points higher than where we currently find ourselves in the pre-market. Also, 664.50 or that 20-day moving average. I've got it at 664.48. That would also be an upside level if we continue to rally here today, or if we turn around and rally here today. If we continue to move down, if we continue to sell off, we're definitely going to be keeping our eye on the 50-day moving average. That's down here at 652.60. You want to say 652.5, that would make a lot of sense to me. We'll definitely be watching these levels here today for the SPY. We'll see what kind of volume we get. One of the things that we discussed on Happy Hour yesterday was despite trading back yesterday and not being able to break above that 20-day moving average, it was nice to see, but the volume was actually quite low. It looks like we finished with 79.56 million. The 100-day average is right around 71 million, so we were slightly over it. But if you look back to Friday, we traded almost twice that volume. In fact, we did trade more than twice that volume. Friday finished at 159.42 million shares on the SPY, again, versus that 100-day average of 71.2. So I'm really not surprised to see us break back above the 20, I'm not surprised that we have not broken back above the 20, especially when the down day was on such strong volume and we just could not muster the same volume for the up move yesterday. We'll see where the market ends up going here today. Now, as far as some of the economic events that are going on today, we do have Fed Bowman speaking. That here starts in about 34 minutes. We also have the 2025 Institute of International Finance annual membership meeting. At 12:20, we have Fed Chair Powell speaking. That's probably going to be the big one of the day. The economic outlook and monetary policy at the National Association for Business Economics is where he's speaking. At 3:25, we have Waller, and at 3:30, we have Collins. So 4 Fed heads today, with Powell being there at 12:20. Producer, you'll have to let me know, is this pre-recorded? Is this something that we're going to be broadcasting here on YouTube? Let the group know what the schedule is for that, if anything. All right, let's talk about some of the news here. We'll go back to some insights from analysts. According to Professor Jeremy Siegel, President Trump's recent threat to impose 100% tariffs on China, which roiled the markets, may be, quote, the last salvo before a final deal is worked out, end quote. In his weekly commentary, Siegel argues that the delayed November 1st effective date is unusual and, quote, indicates that Trump is fishing for a final deal using the tariff as a bargaining chip, end quote. None of this should come as a surprise to anybody at this point. We've now seen this since April. Really, the question is, are they able to secure something, or do they just kick the can down the road a little bit more? While strong and steady AI capital spending continues to anchor economic growth, Siegel warns that a prolonged government shutdown poses a significant risk. The uncertainty could filter into hiring intentions and nudge consumers to a self-imposed strike that slows spending. On monetary policies, Siegel expects the Federal Reserve to cut rates at its upcoming meeting as market pricing has, quote, moved decisively toward easing, end quote. He believes the policy rate should eventually migrate towards the mid-threes over the cycle. Despite near-term volatility, Siegel's long-term view remains that equities are the primary engine of wealth creation. Totally agree with that. It's interesting to see what happens here in October. The CME Watch tool is saying that we are definitely getting a cut here in October. I know there's been some back and forth from some of the Fed heads about whether or not we should pause maybe for October and reassess again in December. Siegel here saying that it's pretty much a certainty, or it looks like it's pretty much a certainty that we're going to get one of those cuts. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any comments that maybe steelman that here today, or maybe take away from that from some of the Fed heads. However, Siegel adds that as a hedge, owning some, quote, store of value, end quote, exposure can make sense. I'd size gold or a mix of gold and major crypto around the low single digits and cap near 10% for most investors, recognizing that over long horizons, equities, the primary engine of wealth creation, should remain stocks for the long run. So he's basically saying you should stay in stocks because that's where the major wealth creation is coming from. But now is not a bad time to add gold. I know Lion's been saying this. I part of me wonders if Lion has more of an allocation than low single digits up to 10%. But it definitely looks like gold here still should absolutely be an active part of your portfolio. Talk a little bit more about what Siegel had to say, this time about U.S. rare earths, which has really been in focus here yesterday. It's going to be in focus again. Any stock that is in a metals or a minerals business likely going to be responding to some of the news back and forth. Veteran economist Jeremy Siegel has called for the establishment of a strategic reserve of rare earth materials in the U.S. to counter China's dominance in the sector. Siegel, speaking on CNBC's Squawk Box yesterday on Monday, said that China's control over rare earth materials has long been a threat to Western supply chains. He proposed the creation of a strategic reserve of these metals in the U.S. Quote, "It's scandalous that we don't have a rare earth strategic reserve and we let China monopolize 90% of refining rare earth materials," end quote. Again, that's from Jeremy Siegel. Where were we realizing the importance of these? I agree with this on the surface. It'll be interesting to see if we can get a strategic reserve set and then how quickly we could fill that strategic reserve. I would imagine if we actually go down that road, that would be excellent for a lot of the materials and metals stocks that we've looked at, namely MP and USAR, I would guess. China currently mines almost 3/4 of the world's rare earth minerals and processes 90% of the metals. This has become a significant issue amid the U.S.-China trade war, with President Trump threatening to impose tariffs on Beijing to counter its rare earth export restrictions. Siegel expressed confidence that the trade conflict would be resolved, saying, quote, "It won't be too negative for either country." He's also confident that Trump wants to negotiate better and resolve the issues by setting the farthest date. He wants to have that solved, end quote. Experts have suggested that the U.S. has several options to secure its own rare earth production, although they warn of significant challenges. The U.S. possesses the majority of 17 rare earth elements and 50 critical minerals, and the industry is expected to respond if the government implements strategies to support the development of a domestic rare earth supply chain. Meanwhile, rare earth stocks like critical metals, ticker CRML, which we took a look at yesterday, U.S. rare earth, ticker USAR, they closed 55.41 and 18.36% higher, respectively, on Monday, driven by these geopolitical developments. U.S. policy moves, trade tensions with China, and a $1.5 trillion investment pledge from J.P. Morgan boosted the entire sector. So we're going to keep following this news. It's likely that we're going to continue to see knock-on effects from some of these bigger statements and bigger companies spread to some of the smaller stocks. Looking back yesterday on ELBM and STI, these were great stocks to really kind of trade yesterday because with that catalyst there, even though there's obvious volatility back and forth, so your entry is really important, the reality is that those were probably going to resolve higher anyway, given everything that's going on with the macroeconomic backdrop. So we'll see there how this all shakes out and where this is all going. I think all of this is good. I think that we really should not be bowing to China in any way. And it looks like that's kind of what's going on here. How will these companies do in the long term? Yet to be seen. A lot of them are kind of extended right now, but without a doubt, if yesterday was any indication, they are making for some really, really good trades. And we hope that continues, no doubt. I'm sure we're going to be looking at the whole host of these here today. All right, next here, Navitas Semiconductor stock is surging after the bell. We'll tell you what's going on here. Navitas shares are soaring in extended trading on Monday after the company provided a progress update on its development of advanced medium and high 800 VDC voltage GaN and SiC power devices. Navitas said its 800 VDC voltage GaN and SiC power devices are designed to enable the 800 volt DC power architecture announced by NVIDIA for next generation AI factory computing platforms. Traditional enterprise and cloud data centers are no longer able to meet the multi-megawatt rack densities required by the latest accelerated computing platforms, the company said. The 800 VDC power distribution provides higher efficiency, scalable infrastructure, and global classification alignment and simplified power distribution. Quote, as the industry moves rapidly towards megawatt scale AI computing platforms, the need for more efficient, scalable, and reliable power delivery becomes absolutely critical. The transition from legacy 54-volt architecture to 800 VDC is not just evolutionary, it's transformational. And that came from Chris Alexander, president and CEO of Navitas. So again, NVTS, it's actually, I haven't traded this one in a while. This was more of kind of a short-term trade for me when this first came on the scene. Here's what the chart looks like on Navitas. And I'll be honest with you, this has been absolutely fantastic. Since that gap in May, nice little back test of that island, not totally clean, but a pretty good job back testing it. And then it's moved higher several times here, bringing some of those moving averages with it. You can see the recent move yesterday broke us above the July highs, which is really good to see, above the big volume shelf that we've really been carving out since May. And now here today, we're gapping to this 13 handle. We back out a little bit more. This is what your weekly chart looks like. Sure looks bullish to me and looks like a huge, huge turnaround from some of these May lows. So Navitas been really good. If we take a look inside, this is what it looks like. You can see as far as a trade goes, some of the levels here, very, very clear. In fact, I'll just go ahead and mark them off on the chart for you if you're going to look to trade Navitas here today. We definitely want to take a look and see at this high here. I've actually got this at 1428. I drew my line at 1422. It's right in there. And then we also want to pay attention to this area, both from the after hours, the consolidation area, or the area where the stock paused for a few minutes on its way up, and then also a support area here from this morning. So I've got this marked a range between 12 and 1422. Navitas breaks out of this range, particularly if it backtests either end of that. We actually might have a pretty decent trade setup here, given the news catalyst. So pretty good stuff here from Navitas. Grats if you folks had this one. I know this is one that we've talked quite a bit about in the past, so I'm assuming that there are still some folks that are trading this here. Let's take a look where we are in terms of the VWAP here. Okay, so it does look like we are kind of pushing away from the VWAP. I actually have that at 1254. Current price here on NVTS 1320 as we look to curl up towards the top end of that pre-market range. Okay, let's also talk about MP. Like I said, this seems to be the big news across the market here. MP Material shares are trading higher on Monday amid continued strength after China's Commerce Ministry announced last week that foreign suppliers must obtain approval to export certain products containing rare earth minerals. According to CNBC, China tightened export controls on rare earth and related technologies while barring its citizens from participating in unauthorized overseas mining. The Ministry of Commerce said foreign entities must now obtain a license to export any products containing more than 0.1% domestically sourced rare earths or made using Chinese extraction, refining, magnet making, or recycling technology. The new measures, which take effect December 1st, are aimed at preventing the misuse of rare earth minerals in military and other sensitive sectors. Companies linked to foreign militaries or placed on export control lists will be denied permits, while applications for items that could be used in weaponry or terrorism will also be rejected. The restrictions mark a, quote, major upgrade for rare earth export controls, end quote, expanding oversight from raw materials to intellectual property and technologies. Analysts said the move could deepen global reliance on Chinese know-how and strengthen Beijing's leverage in trade negotiations ahead of a potential meeting with President Trump and President Xi Jinping later this month. Rare earth stocks are trading higher as investors expect China's new export rules to tighten global supply. The restrictions could make it harder for other countries to access key materials used in technology and defense, boosting demand for U.S. producers like MP Materials. Traders view the policy as a positive catalyst for companies positioned to supply these materials outside of China. According to a social media post from Trump over the weekend, appeared to ease trade concerns, with Trump stating, quote, "Don't worry about China, it will all be fine," end quote. Let's take a look here at the MP chart, very much like we did here with NVTS. NP here, 100 prints here this morning. Looks like we did that right here this morning, doing a really good job holding above that round 100 number. This is definitely a psychological level. We're seeing that play out here. Here's what the daily chart looks like for MP. And my God, what a breakout here, right? A nice little pop into this island formation. We kind of traded sideways for what looks like, 2 months? And then bang, another break higher here. Here's the big part, the big problem with this. The stock has moved so far, so fast. I mean, as far as an investment goes, I think at this point, you really need to be patient and wait for this to come back into a support level. Short-term trading now, trading the momentum, that makes sense to me. But as far if you have a long-term view on some of these rare earths, it's moved so far so fast. I'd really like to see a bit of a pullback here. Donald Trump says, "Can we really believe most of what Trump says?" Yes, absolutely we can. We see it here. We see the market reflect that pretty regularly. Yes, that's an easy one. Okay, next one here is going to be for Google. Google sends clear message to investors ahead of earnings, and it's the much talked about demise of search. Looks like that's not happening, at least not according to Gene Munster here. AI isn't killing search, it's making it stronger. This kind of makes sense to me. I was not really on board with the whole AI is going to delete search or anything like that. To me, it just seems like they were going to incorporate it and make it better. It looks like what Gene Munster is saying here. As fears swirl about artificial intelligence using Alphabet's Google dominance in search, Deepwater Asset Management Gene Munster says the company is sending one message loud and clear. AI is boosting, not breaking, its core business. In a note shared on Monday on social media, Munster wrote, quote, "Google has a message for investors. Search is doing fine," end quote. Pretty simple there. Munster pointed to comments from Liz Reed, Google's head of search, who appeared in the Wall Street Journal's Bold Names podcast last week. While the appearance might have seemed routine, Munster said the timing just weeks before Alphabet reports earnings on October 29th was deliberate and telling. Quote, "Any comments a company makes just before reporting earnings should be overweighted," end quote. He goes on to say Liz Reed's message 2 weeks before earnings was that AI is having a positive impact on search, end quote. Munster expects Google's search revenue to grow about 11.7% into the September quarter, slightly above Wall Street's 11.2% estimate amid tougher year-over-year comparisons tied to election ad spending. Quote, "One metric we should get is monthly AI mode users. I believe it will skyrocket to over 300 million in September, up from over 100 million in June, so a triple from June to September." Munster also mentioned Reed's acknowledgement of growing competition from Microsoft's corporation's Bing, which has gained modest share since integrating OpenAI's ChatGPT from 3% in mid-2023 to roughly 4% in 2025. Just taking a little bit of a break there. Does anyone actually use Bing? I feel like this was a number of years ago. I'm talking like 10 years ago. This was a default on some browsers. I don't know that I've ever said to myself, You should use Bing as your search engine. I pretty much always pick something else. I thought I was in the majority, but y'all folks would have to correct me. Does anyone actually use Bing at all? Still, Munster downplayed the risk, saying Google's search share remains around 85 to 90% globally. I am actually surprised it's that low. I would have thought it's a little bit higher. I mean, everyone I talk to now, no matter what business they're in, where they're from, how old they are, everyone says just Google it. I know it's, kind of just a saying at this point, but to me, I actually thought that number would be a little bit higher. Again, maybe I'm in the minority here. Jet Fuel Creative saying Chat GPT is based on Bing. Okay, so I use Perplexity for stuff like that. Is Perplexity based off Google? You'll have to let me know. But anyway, ChatGPT based off Bing for search. That's good stuff. And says, lol, I used Bing this week for the $1 million giveaway. Mark says no. Donald Trump says, I use Ask Jeeves. Quick as an aside, when back in the day when like Lycos and Webcrawler and Google were all available, Ask Jeeves was my favorite because I had search terms that were more like questions, and I definitely felt like Ask Jeeves gave me better results. I think you're being tongue-in-cheek there, but a good reference there, or a good mention of Ask Jeeves, one of my favorite. RX says, I use Bing and get rewards. I didn't even know you could get rewards. That's news to me. Joe says, I still use Google. Big B says Alta Vista forever. Oh, that's that brings back some nostalgic vibes there. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. Anyway, thanks for the trip down memory lane there. I appreciate it. Tracy said, I once had a Windows phone and used Bing. Maps were good. The phone was bad. Yeah, I remember some of those. Interesting. Bing was the default search bar. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Wall Street analysts agree that AI is expanding Google's total addressable market, not cannibalizing it. Last month, Truist Securities analyst Yusuf Squali stated in a note that AI chatbots such as ChatGPT and Perplexity are expanding the TAM of search rather than replacing it, while maintaining a buy rating and raising its price target to $285. This is the exact cohort I find myself in. To me, it makes complete sense that the ChatGPT, Perplexity, other large language models are actually empowering search, or as they say here, expanding the total addressable market of search rather than replacing it. To me, the thoughts here about cannibalizing, that didn't make a whole lot of sense from the get-go, and it looks like this is kind of what's going on here. It's actually bolstering it, and I'm not surprised to see that. Earlier this month, Perplexity AI CEO Arvind Srinivas said that for the first time in 20 years, Google is truly vulnerable, warning that the company's heavy reliance on high-margin search advertising has become a strategic risk. Here, really quickly, before we go over to the Google chart, because I do want to take a look at that, here's your proprietary Edge rankings or Benzinga rankings. Google scoring very, very high on this. 83.74 on momentum, 79 on growth, 84 on quality, and only 40 on value. Normally, when you have three high figures here, the other one is quite low. With Google here, none of them really bad. Google indicates that it continues to demonstrate solid momentum across short, medium, and long-term time frames as well. If we go back to Pro here and we pull up a Google chart, here's what it looks like. This is GOOG. This is the one that I normally chart here. You can do it with L if you want, but here's what the Google chart looks like. I'd love a back test of this trend line. I think that's being a little bit greedy. I'm not sure we get that, but a back test of this trend line, better still, if it's at the intersection of the 50-day moving average, that would be juicy, and I would absolutely try a long side swing if we were able to get that. Furthermore, seasonality for Google might come into play here, especially if we have a strong fourth quarter as we kind of expect. Let me take a quick peek at this real fast. Yeah, Google right now, in fact, I'll just go ahead and show this to you real quick. Here's what your Google seasonality looks like from now, October 14th through February 2nd of next year. This is extremely positive seasonality. In fact, if we take a look at this, the percent probable here is 100%, with an average gain of around 12% with no average loss in there. So to me, it makes a lot of sense here. I think that if we get any type of weakness here in Google, especially if it lines up with the chart, I think we're in real good shape for a potential swing long here on Google. So we'll see here. Great to see that search is not dying out. Again, that made zero sense to me. Great to see that that is the case. Cam here saying Google has not had a good month. If that not having a good month leads to a good buying opportunity for us, I will not apologize for that at all. All right. Let's see here. Looks like we're good. Adam, if you're good in the back, we can go ahead. I don't see your camera yet, so let me know if that's all right. And we'll go ahead and bring Adam on here. Folks, it is a T3 Tuesday, and I'll be honest, I'm just going to kind of cue this up real quick. We're going to ask Adam about what to do with some of these momentum names, and we're going to start with Quantum. Let's go ahead and bring on Mr. Adam Mesh from T3. I have to actually bring him on, right? I have to actually bring you onto the show before I can welcome you on here. Adam, happy Tuesday. It's a victory Tuesday for me. How you doing here today?
Ryan, I missed you. Great to be here and excited to talk shop with you.
Okay, let's get right into it. I know I've asked you a few times about some of these quantum names because you had such a banger trade. I think it was QBTS in the pennies when you initially added that, or something absurd.
91 cents. 91 cents.
Okay, so now we look at these charts. They've gone absolutely vertical and parabolic. And I'm starting here with Rigetti, which I affectionately call Rigetti Spaghetti. Where is the next trade in these? Are these momentum trades where we should just still be playing if the momentum is vertical? Are we looking for shorts on this? How do we actually trade this? Full disclosure, I started a short yesterday by nibbling on the inverse 2x ETF on here. My feelings will not be hurt if you tell me I'm an idiot.
There's an inverse 2x on Rigetti or on all quantum?
On Rigetti, baby, RGTZ. It's in its third day of trading here. I nibbled on some of this in the after hours yesterday.
It's like I'm alcoholic and you're like offering me shots to start the call.
Look, all gas, no brakes around here, Adam. That's just what we do.
You know, like if trading quantum wasn't enough, let's go 2x quantum. Start the morning. So right now I'm in overall, and this is just the way my brain works. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I just have to go.
Yeah, all good.
So Friday, and I got to tell you a story about Friday in a second. Friday was the day we were down 4%.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't make sense. And I didn't buy that the reason was the one Trump message on Truth Social. And then yesterday we rallied probably 75 to 80% back of the way, whatever the number was. And I didn't think that was because Trump said everything's fine with China. Right? That's too much for the market to move for two little Truth Social messages. They're not tweets if they're on Truth Social. I don't know what they're called. Does anyone have a name for the verb?
Posts or truths is what we've been calling them.
Truths. Okay. I like that. That's good. So I almost equate it back to, remember the flash crash?
Yep.
And whenever you see something like that, I believe in a line in the sand. Like we just went down to this level on this day. Will we retest that? And I think the answer is yes. So overall, I'm in a defensive mode and I am looking for bearish plays. So I like the way you're thinking. Now, on Friday, when I was putting on and trading different things, one of the things I went out with was I own stock in my personal account in qubits. I own stock that I'm just never looking at and holding forever. Like either it's going to be like forever or we'll go back down, but you know, whatever. It's like small enough that either way I don't care, but I just want to be in it. But I started going bearish on qubits on Friday. I put on a bear call spread, and then yesterday I put on some puts because it was weird. It wasn't down in the morning, and I only lost $1,000. I had a good day trading, but I lost $1,000 in that, and I thought that was great because it was up 8 points. It was so strong, and it was like, this is my thing. If you think the market's going down and you want to put on a bearish play, I don't think it's in quantum because that's in a world of its own.
Okay.
And I did not like the way that traded against the market yesterday. And the worst thing you want to do is make a good market call and lose money because you're in the wrong stock. So you would need to see, like, it's tough because they rally so hard when they go against you.
Yeah.
Usually you want to go with the momentum, but in this case, it's tough because if you want to wait for it to start going down, it could snap back in your face. So what I would look for if I was looking to go bearish quantum would be to see the trend change and have it be down on the day where the market's up.
Okay.
Versus yesterday, it was so strong. Well, I guess the market was up yesterday, but even in the morning, it was good. It was outperforming right still. So I don't know. It hasn't shown me enough to go against it right now.
Okay. Fair enough. I like that. That's very, very actionable, right? Where is there a day where the market is strong that these quantums are just not participating? We haven't seen that yet. I can't help it. I look at a move like this. Now I have an inverse ETF where I can kind of trade around this, right? Add if it goes lower, maybe sell into any type of downdraft. So I'm trying to do it. I'm way too scared. Straight up, I'm way too scared to just short this thing outright, whether it be stock or puts. I feel like I'm going to get my face ripped off. I'm going to show up the next day. Things are going to be gapping up 15% in the pre-market, and I'm going to be crying or trying not to cry. And I just don't want to do any of that. So I'm trying to do this through ETFs. I'll let you know if I end up being successful here.
Well, that's 100% right, because if you own an ETF, it's like, and you tell your viewers this, and we all want this for all of you. You never want to go out naked short the stock. You don't want to sell calls. You don't want to do anything where you could wake up in the morning and see it up and you're down a fortune. So the way that Ryan's doing it is correct because he's owning something that could go against you, but it's not going to be an infinite risk.
Yep.
So that's very, very important.
Yeah, infinite risk is not part of any part of my trading plan. Real quick here, I want to get this. I get so excited, I forget some of these reads, and I'm sorry about that. Adam has given us some huge winners on his T3 appearances here on the show, so be sure to sign up for the exclusive webinar to get more in-depth knowledge drops here. Join Adam and Tom for an exclusive webinar event tomorrow, October 15th. 4:30 Eastern. QR code is on the screen. Link is in the chat. Okay, so Adam, you talked a little bit there about Friday. We got a lot of stuff going on here. What are you looking at here this week? Is it macro-based? What is it?
I'm all in individual stocks right now. So
okay.
First, let me tell you my story from Friday, guys, because your audience is a trading audience. I got to click on the chat because I love it when they talk. This is a true story. You guys are not going to believe this. Okay. On Friday, I came in with on Thursday, I was supposed to play golf in the morning. I know you play golf too. And I had gone out Wednesday night. Wednesday I went out last week with hundreds of path contracts, PATH, because it was looking very strong, UI path. And I saw it was trading up like $1.50, $2 after hours. So I called the guys and I said, can we move the tee time back? I want to trade the open. I got to sell some of the stuff. And I came in and I was up huge in path on Thursday. It was a really good day. I hit it on the option contracts. There was no news, just a breakout. And so Friday, I said, I just want to be chill. It's a 3-day weekend. You know, my kids were going to be home for Columbus Day. Mm-hmm. So I was like, kind of like, just take it easy. Like, you had a great week, great day. The bond market's closed Monday, 3-day week. There shouldn't be a lot that happens on Friday. But I was also thinking there, like, everyone's texting me about stocks. I'm like, this market's too euphoric. So the Qs we're talking about now, the Qs were trading at 611.50. Okay. And I was like, I'm just going to take a stab at some puts. So I bought 70 of the 610 puts for 64 cents. It was around $5,000 risk. Mm-hmm. And then I bought 160 of the 605 puts for 11 cents. So all in, I was around $6,000 to $7,000 risk which I never was planning on taking for the day. It was like, I think we're going to come off our highs. And then the first thing it did was it traded up to 612 and change again, the Qs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm going to just go outside for a sec. I talked to myself. I'm like, do not get locked into a big position. Don't lose $7,000 on this stuff. Just be in control. So I came in, started taking some off. And then all of a sudden, 611, 610, 609, 608, 607. I'm up. I go from down $1,000 to up $10,000 in a second. And that's a big move for me these days. I'm not looking for extreme moves like that. Like
that's a big move any day of the week that ends in Y, buddy. That's great.
I call JJ from T3, right? Because I'm at home and I'm looking for news and I don't see it. I'm like, what am I missing? He's like, Trump just said that he's annoyed at China. He read me the message. I was like, well, that kind of seems like BS. I'm like, all right. I'm just gonna take my $10,000. And I took it off the table. I'm like, I'm done. That $7,000 risk, if held, was worth $400,000 that day. $400,000. I had what would have been 16,000 shares short the Qs at 605 by itself that went to 590. And I had another 7,000 at 610. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, and I have to tell myself that's a 1%. Never. Every other time, if I would have held those positions, I lose it all. Like it rallies back, it's gone. Every other day this year. But that day, if I held, anyhow. So I'm still mentally adjusting to what could have been for that. The last time I was on, I gave you two stocks that I thought were going to be the next Palantir, Robinhood. One of them was APLD. I talked about. I don't know if you remember, but it was.
I do.
And it was in the early teens, and we got a big hit on that. It went to 35. So that really delivered. I now own puts on APLD. I came in this morning with puts. I started buying them yesterday. APLD yesterday, if you saw it hit a high of 39, it closed at 34 and change with the market staying high. So that's what I'm looking for a bearish play. This came off 5 points while everything else continued rallying. That's what I look for those short-term trades. Like, no news? This just was coming down ahead of the market. So I'm going to look on the open. If we get a drop, I'll probably cover some. And when I say cover, sell some of my puts. Mm-hmm. So that one was a bearish one. And then another one that I'm going to come in, and it was up more, but the market's pulling it down now, was you look at Bitfarm ever, BITF?
Occasionally, but this is not one of our popular ones here.
Okay, yesterday it was trading over 100 million shares. Here's what doesn't make sense to me about it. Bitcoin was trading down yesterday.
Yep.
Bitfarm was trading up. I didn't understand why. I think maybe they're going to do that whole transition from crypto to data center play. That's been the big move. Like you're in crypto, now you're a data center. But I did not know why it was trading up when Bitcoin was trading down. So I bought some of those. It traded up after hours to $6 from 540, and it's indicated to open up a little bit despite the market being down pretty big. So that's another one to keep an eye on right now.
Okay, I know. Didn't you also? I could have sworn that you were also trading Wolf. Wolf with a U.
I still have that.
You still have that. Here's what the chart looks.
WULF.
Yeah, I broke this. This was my own fault. Here you go. Here's what your Wolf chart looks like. So what are we thinking on this?
I still have a little bit. I'm just trying to stay in it. I felt like I was trading at big 10, 11. I caught some of the move, and then it just kind of kept going, and I was kind of busy in other things and lost track of it. I have there's so much going on right now. But yeah, I was in Wolf. I still am in Wolf. And it's staying strong. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Okay. TerraWolf, really good stuff there. All right. The other one I wanted to ask you about here is OKLO. Wasn't this a buy for you at like $17?
By the way, Ryan, that's a fantastic memory. And I could show you, I still have it on, if I was sharing my trading screen, which I'm not, I still have it on from 1750.
That's unbelievable risk tolerance and being able to let your winners run. Talk to us about this. What's the plan to take this off? How do you do something like that?
So I have a small enough amount that I don't care. Like if I have a small position in it, like Qubits, Oklo, it's kind of like I had a big position And then I got out and I kept just enough so I don't have the FOMO of like, oh, I was never in it. And then I just kind of hold it and forget about it because it's small enough. So I don't have a lot of Aklo. I have it on almost like a marker. Like, so it's like, it's more like what could have been. But yeah, no, normal. Like if I had like a couple thousand shares, I wouldn't be able to hold it for that kind of move from 17 to 170. That's crazy. But no, I think they were saying on, I heard someone saying that like Aklo will be like one of the first, like is like one of the chief representatives of where the market is right now in terms of euphoria.
Yeah, we talk about that too with some of the quantum names, right? Like if the market really has a serious pullback, some of these quantum names are probably going to get the air let out of them. Aklo would be another one that I could see that here. I don't have a short on this. This entire sector, this has been really, really difficult. How do you trade something like this where it's 10x from where you first looked at it and it looks extremely extended with the market here completely overbought? Do you just wait this out? What do you do with something like this?
Same thing as with the quantum plays. I'm looking for a divergence from the market and the stocks. That's the only way I could kind of make heads and tails of it. So, if everything's going up and this is going up, I can't know when it's going to stop. But if all of a sudden the market's up and this is looking weak, that's going to be a trigger for me to keep an eye on it. The best example is what I did with APLD yesterday. Like, that was going down while everything else was going up on no news. Like if I'm going to go bearish, which by the way is very hard to do.
Yeah.
Very hard to be bearish. I still not in the GameStop squeeze that became famous that they made a movie about, but years earlier, I was convinced that GameStop was going to go the way of Blockbuster. And I remember being with my family in Disney World, short the stock and not understanding how it just kept going up. And I'm like, they sell used video games. This isn't worth millions of dollars.
How does it make sense? How does it make sense?
And for anyone who's seen The Big Short, the whole idea that the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent is true. So a lot of times with these quantum or anything else, you're going to be right, but it's going to take the elevator down. It's going to happen very fast at a certain time. And, and there's no way you're going to time it right. So in order to get involved in these, I would think you're going to have to be willing to take some pain, which I'm not. Yeah. So like I'm okay missing out on these down moves on the bearish side. Like for me, I've been trading well, not looking to do that. And that would have been the wrong move for the last who knows how long, you know what I mean? But
yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you ask me if I think it's worth more or less than its current trading price, less, obviously. I don't want to get in the way of it.
Okay. All right. Really, really good stuff there. Lion here from our chat. Reality check is coming soon. I think there are a lot of people feel like that. And when everyone's waiting for it, that's often where you don't get it. That's where you get that market that can remain irrational longer than we can remain solvent. Adam, you got anything new on the deck that you're watching here for today?
Well, I like Brian's comment. Call me a top 5 guest. I appreciate that.
There's no question. There's no question. I think what I like the most here, you and Red Dog do a really good job of this. You guys when you talk about some of the trades that you've done, you talk about your thought process. That's the stuff that we don't get when we're actually in the midst of an actual trade. We all have our own thought process. I like hearing what other traders are thinking about, how they're processing all of that information, and then how they end up coming up with a trade like that. You and Red Dog do a really good job at that. So I'm not surprised to hear Brian say that.
I think, and thank you. I think today is going to be an overall important day of trading. The bond market's back open, so it could allow for more volatility. You're starting to see the volatility pick up. Friday was a 4% sell-off. That move doesn't happen often. And it's crazy. I'm reading When Genius Failed, and it's about the fall of long-term capital management. And like in the book, like the thing that started to break the firm was like a 4% down move in the market. Like it's the whole thing that explains it. But I'm like, we got that on Friday. We got a 4% down move on Friday, and it's crazy. And back. But so extreme move on Friday, extreme move yesterday, giving back gains to open today. I do think today I don't think today is going to be a day where we kind of just sit and hold. I think you're going to have some swings, and I'm interested to see where we go today. I think today will set up for whether we're now going to be coming off our highs or still on the way up. So I think today's going to be a critical trading day overall. And when you get into those kind of extreme market moves, it's important to note that that's going to dictate usually more than the individual stocks. Like, you want to find strong stocks if we're going up. You want to be in bearish stocks if we're going down. And that's why, again, I don't want to go. I get nervous about the quantum only because it seems like it's in its own world. Like, I could see a day where the market tanks and quantum won't go down. Yeah, the bid F has my eye right now. That's what I was trading yesterday. You know which one I love still that just won't go down? Keep an eye. Soundtown won't go down. Soundtown is a very strong stock that looks like it's still going to squeeze people out. Like, I love that stock. I know they do like AI, like phone voice stuff, but
I think they also do like order taking at fast food restaurants.
Yeah, they're just the stock trades very well. It's like if you were in it, it's very easy to stay in. Like, and that's a great answer to your question, by the way. The easiest way to stay in a stock is a good stock will keep you in it. Like it's moves like it's always going to come back. What's that one?
ASTS, the one.
ASTS. That's kind of one. It has some extreme moves, but that was one where I'm in that one since 12 or 13, and like it just kind of keeps you in it. Like, you just like every couple of weeks you look and it's higher, so you're like, all right. The easiest way to stay in those for the big moves is not look often. I have those in another account, so
okay.
I don't look at them.
I can appreciate that. There's plenty of things where I've taken. You were talking about Friday. I had a tea time Friday afternoon, and I left, and I was like, "Oh, market might be under pressure," but I left thinking this is probably viable. I even said it on the Friday morning show. I got to the 7th hole, and I checked my phone just to see how the market was doing, and I was like, "Oh shit! I'm glad I'm playing golf today because I might not be a happy camper there." I said, "You know what? It's the weekend here. We're going to reassess this on Monday." And I came in on Monday and I was like, yep, really glad I waited. I'm really glad that I didn't overreact there on Friday because I would have done something that I would have regretted. So, okay. Real good stuff, folks. Join Adam Mesh and Tom Sosnoff, two of the best in the business, for an exclusive webinar event on October 15th at 4:30 Eastern. It's free. QR code's there on the screen. Adam, thanks again for everything. Can't wait to have you back. Hope that we have some new plays here to take a look at when we have you next time.
Ryan, this is great. And yeah, the Tom session, everyone, I hope you join. It's just pure content. And he is a legend. Like, I've learned more from him than anyone else. And to hear him talk about options, if you like options trading, it's just a great 1-hour interview, and I hope everybody comes.
When I first started trading in 2014, I moved my account to Thinkorswim after I blew up my first account with Scott Trade that I was trying to get rich on OTC marijuana stocks. We won't talk about that, but I learned my lesson. When I moved to Thinkorswim, they had a little tasty trade video thing, and I started my morning. I didn't know this Tom Sosnoff guy was, and I started my morning watching him a couple of times with the video clips that they were playing in Thinkorswim. And I was like, I'll tell you what, if I could become half as smart as this guy about the market, I'll never have to work another day in my life. You're not kidding. Tom is pure content. Dude is absolutely awesome. Really looking forward to that. Folks, be sure to check that out. Adam, have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Ryan, real quick, the cannabis stocks look alive a little bit.
I've got one now, but I'm doing it a lot smarter than I did back when I was a green thumb at this whole thing. So I'm with you on that. Green thumb.
Thank you.
All right, Adam, take care of yourself. We'll catch up with you next time. Folks, that is Adam Mesh from T3. Real good stuff there. I love some of the things that he's talking about. Remember, last time we talked to him, he said likes trading markets that are down because it's easier to find relative strength. That's what we see here today. Now he's saying, hey, if you want to short some of these high flyers, one of the things you might want to take a look at on a day where the market is absolutely raging are some of these high flyers like the Quantum or other names, maybe not participating. Maybe that's a change in the way the market's looking at that. So really good stuff, as always, from Adam Mesh. His departure leaves room for 13. So we'll bring 13 on, see how he's doing. 13, how you doing here today, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Just trying to get this coffee through me. Tried to get through some of these movers this morning. I ran into a problem with the financials tab. So fortunately, I'm not able to.
Is it still doing it for you? Because I just clicked it. I just did. Look. Try logging out and logging back in. I'll tell you what, 13. When we go through some of these stocks, I'll drive for you. I'll go ahead and throw. If I remember, you move awfully quick, and that's a good thing. But when you move awfully quick, I will try and remember to put these screens up and do it for you. We'll give you a hand with all that. So no problem. Where do you want to start?
Start with G-Wave. I actually got to look at that financial tab before things started to go wrong here. That logout didn't do anything. So this one doesn't have any news, but they have been going through a series of NASDAQ compliance notices, and they just regained, I think it was a minimum bid compliance, but they still have a delinquency notice because they have delayed their second quarter filing. So with that in mind, there's potentially another news catalyst coming up where they regain that compliance and they filed their Q2. But I was looking at their cash position and I was like, okay, well, maybe I have an idea of why they aren't filing, and their cash position isn't great and they lose a lot of money. So they're going to have to raise capital as well. Fortunately, they've already gone through a reverse split and their float is now 548,000 shares. So they have the ability to dilute it. I would expect something like that to come up with G-Wave as early as today. This is just basically a recycling company. So, critical minerals and things like that this is a play on that in a different angle, just trying to reclaim what we already have. But that's the news that I got here with this one. As far as the chart goes, let me go back here. So we traded up into 2256 this morning, and we started coming back down. We lost VWAP, regained it for a little bit, lost it again. We're back above VWAP right now, and you can probably you already did it, perfect. Broke a trend line. And we're making our way back up towards these 20 prints. We're just short of there. We're at the 1925 right now. Trying to get up to that candle that we had about 655 this morning. That high was 2058. That's going to be that area should be the next area of resistance to get through before we try to make our way. The price tries to make its way up to the 256 high.
Okay, good stuff there on G-Wave. I was wondering, these battery recyclers, are these going to get in play now, given what we've seen with some of the battery plays yesterday and some of the materials plays?
This is not exclusively a battery recycler. This is just a recycler of ferrous and non-ferrous material. It's just like it recycles all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
but certainly batteries are going to be one of them.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at the next one here. Sorry, I'm typing a message to my producer and misspelling things because I'm an idiot. Next one here is going to be ticker ELAB. This is ELAB. We've traded this one plenty before, right off the scanner. This is PMGC Holding here. Now, this is trading on no news. Trading higher on no news here. Reported on September 29th, PMGC Holdings North Drive Biosciences completes phase 2 of its AI development program with strategic partners. So we had news back at the end of September, nothing recent. We did pop in the after hours. We popped bigger here in the pre-market. The volume is continuing to compress, and so too the price is retracing. It'll be interesting to see if we get another move till VWAP. There was one of these on deck for yesterday that did something like that, where it was a little bit weak in the pre-market, and then it made a move back to VWAP. So even if we don't trade this one right out of the open, definitely worth watching here to see if it does make a move. VWAP at 1376, current price at 1027, so a pretty decent range in there if we do get that type of movement. Quick look around the horn on this one. 2.83% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 834,000 shares. Today we've traded 12.6 million. I don't think the short interest is going to come into play here today. The float, much more important. This thing under 1 million shares, 676,000 shares in the float here for ELAB. Smoke Tuna, bonjour, good morning. You'll have to remind me if ELAB was one of the previous stocks that we had traded off of one of your alerts. I'm pretty certain that I recall this ticker from that. If you can place that, let me know. I just think we have a little bit of experience with this one. It is holding higher here by 95%, so it's not quite one of those 100% movers, but it was that earlier this morning. We're currently under the 65. We might get some support down here around the $9 handle, around the 200 EMA 13. What do you think of this one?
I think that when we were trading this last time, because some folks were mentioning that they got out at 12 or something like that. I think that might have been August 22nd. The last time we had a really big move up through the 65 EMA on the daily chart. Everything they're saying is true. Like, we opened and we had this giant move up to looks like it was 1288, and then we came right back down and went lower and lower and lower every day after that. So that might have been the day, and here we are. We're back over the 65 EMA again. I don't know what, if it's gonna do the same thing it did on the 20th of August, but we could see a similar price action where we get a pop out of the gate and then it comes back in throughout the rest of the day. We're already like, if you look at the 5-minute chart, I think
sure.
So if you look at what the price action was yesterday going into today, we did have an initial pop that created a high. We didn't really hit that until the pre-market opened, but when we came back down off that pre-market initial move, the high from yesterday we almost hit that high from yesterday as support. It's very, very close. I feel like this area down where it's at, where it's kind of bottoming now, and this 200 EMA just below it, if it even gets down there, which I'm not sure it will. This is where it should start to turn around. So we'll see if we end up getting that. The next thing that we're going to want to see from here is a recapture of that 65 EMA.
Yep.
And then there's going to be this little area of consolidation above, a little supply zone, if you will, above 1176, 1175 to about 1375. That is going to provide some resistance, and VWAP's also in there as well.
Okay, real good stuff there. I can totally see all of that from the chart. This gives us at minimum a good game plan in case this thing turns around. We should be prepared there. Ticker ELAB.
Yeah, Jay Rice, I did see that. It was great.
Which one?
NKLR.
Do we want to take a look at that real quick here?
It seems like it shook out some of the original investors, because that thing ended up coming down pretty well after the merger occurred.
So it looks like it traded down here to 15, kind of traded sideways, like you were saying there, 13, maybe shaking some of those weaker hands out, and then popped in the after hours.
Because the what's it called? The lockup shares were starting to become available to sell, because it was hitting the different price milestones of 12, 14, 16.
Okay.
So once it did that, then there was a lot of it did create a little bit of downside pressure, but it seems like because the nuclear theme's so hard, not everybody's jumping out of this thing.
Okay. Interesting. What do we think today with this action here? Obviously, we traded higher in the after hours, but we lost 19 here today. What do you think? I know I'm putting you on the spot, so sorry about that.
The financial tab screwed up the whole details chart, so I can't see the chart that I normally look at in Pro. Let me look here in the broker and see what I got. Daily. We are kind of hitting a bit of a resistance area on a trend line. Like, if you go to a daily chart, I think you might be able to see it. I don't know if it's going to look the same from broker to Pro, but let's try to.
I only have just a couple of sticks here because of
the merger. Okay.
Because of the merger. So.
All right. Well, I think. Okay. Well, let's see what we get here today.
Okay, that's all good.
Yeah. So I can't really give any predictions because we had that chart change. So anyway.
Okay, no problem. We'll see if it holds on to 18. That's what I'd be looking at right now. Okay, next here on the list, this is AQMS, ticker AQMS. This is Aqua Metals. There's another one again in this theme here. We should expect a lot of this. Shares are trading higher on no news. Looks like they ramped a little bit in the after hours, had 2 impulse moves accompanied with volume. We pulled back a little bit here today, basically trading sideways. Tell you what, just kind of looking at the chart here, and again, I'm just eyeballing this, is based off none of the other stats. I really don't want to lose 1650 to the downside here, and I would absolutely love to see this thing get back around 21. clearing out this range might make for some more moves to some of those highs. I don't know if we get that. We'll see. Quick look around the horn here on this one. 7.07% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. That comes on an average 100-day volume of 1.22 million shares. Today we've traded 2.4. Float here is 1.76. Any thoughts on this one on AQMS? And really quickly, this is the business of recycling lead through novel, proprietary, and patent-pending processes.
Yeah, this is the battery recycler. So with this one, and I think I would definitely be going to their financials to see what their cash situation and burn rate.
Okay, as of here, let's go to the balance sheet. As of the last quarter, they have 1.9 million in cash on their balance sheet.
And what does their income show? That they lose more than that?
Their income here, total net income minus 6.7 million.
That's going to be a problem. So
it is a recipe for disaster, as they say. So perhaps we get an offering here or something like that.
We're going to have to do some kind of capital raise, whether it be private placement or some kind of share dilution offering. Yeah, I think that's going to be coming up at some point soon. Maybe they get some contracts and things are fine. But to me, it looks like today that the move already happened yesterday, and we're just kind of letting this thing leak into the open. I don't know that we're going to get support at the 200 EMA. It does look like an interesting support area because it's kind of a support area that we got yesterday in the after hours after we had this impulse move up. So that's going to be about 1523. I'm not sure that we're going to see support there. If it doesn't hold, it seems like support might come in the 13 handle from the high during the regular session yesterday. That's where I think I would be putting my support at if we lose the 200 EMA on the 5 minute. Is down at those highs from yesterday.
Okay, we'll see if we end up getting that right down here for visual. Yeah. That's going to be right down here if we do lose that. That's great. At least we have some downside targets to take a look at here. AQMS. All right, real quick here, teammate Jake Crandall, who also one of my very close teammates here at work, also a Commanders fan. Jake, I will say I can appreciate this here today. It was a lot better morning than the last time my team played your team in the morning. I'll say that here. What I will say here, just to kind of offer a bit of an olive branch here, I don't think the Bears win that game yesterday if they don't have 3 takeaways. So at least it ended up being an exciting game. Full mea culpa here. I was texting Jake during the game, and I was so unbelievably tired that when the Bears kicked away their lead that they had, I texted him good night, and he correctly said that there was more time left in this game. So that was a really good call, Crandall. I was wrong. You were right. But I'll take the victory Tuesday here today. We'll see how the season finishes up there. All right.
I was watching that game. I got to say that I felt for you when Zacchaeus didn't make that catch.
I'll tell you, look, I don't even.
I was watching. I was feeling it with you, man.
So again, I was so tired. I wanted to go to sleep. I couldn't really get angry. I couldn't really get happy. I had said earlier to one of my friends, this is going to be the Zacchaeus revenge game because he played for Washington last year. And I literally watched the replay of the ball being perfectly thrown into his chest and his head starting to look forward before the ball got there. And I was just like, oh my God. But all right, all's well as ends well. We'll keep going with some of the stocks here. Just wild stuff. Next one here on the list is going to be NVA. This is Nova Minerals. So again, our theme here about critical minerals, rare earth chemical. This is very, very prevalent. We're seeing it again here today. NVA, Nova Minerals, engaged ahead of high-level critical minerals talks with U.S. President Trump. So this to me, just to make sure I get this correctly here, they're engaged in talks, but there's nothing official here, right? Am I reading that correctly? I'm pretty sure Nova has been requested by His Excellency Australian Ambassador. I don't think basically what I'm trying to get to here is I don't think that this is a completely done deal yet.
Okay, well, hold on. Where is this Nova Minerals Limited? Is going to be?
I believe this is in Australia.
It's not Alaska. It's in Australia.
It operates in one segment, which is the exploration of minerals in 2 geographical areas, being Australia and the United States. So perhaps it's Alaska and Australia.
Look at the PR you just had. I'm pretty sure I saw Alaska in that PR.
Yes. update on its Estelle Gold and critical minerals project in Alaska. So yes, this is exactly right.
Okay. Then I think that's what it's referring to, which is interesting because remember we just had this news about how he's building a 216 or something mile road out there, and it's going to affect
that affected NAC, which is also trading higher this morning.
It's going to affect TMQ. So we're mining Alaska, folks.
That's antimony also being mentioned as one of the bullets here. That was not readily obvious from the headline there. Good. Thanks for making me go through that PR. See, guys, it's a good idea to read through the PRs. Turns out you can get some really good information there, and you don't have to gloss over things. Nonetheless, that's what the news is going on here with NVA. The stock moved from $37 to $74. Stock is up 70%. This is not some $1 or $2 stock. This is a much big 228 million cap. The stock was, again, closed at $34 yesterday. Take a look at the short interest on this. Negligible, 0.67% of the float short as of the most recent read with 1 day to cover. I don't think that's going to play into this at all here today. Float on this stock, 6.39 million. What do you think, 13? Think this is possible, one of our crazy movers here today? And just in case you didn't know, Lion already owns this, of course.
So I'm not liking the current price action, but it looks like it's trying to search out for a bottom right now. And just like with the last chart that we looked at, it's coming down to some of the, and it's not from the regular session, of course, but it's like the earlier impulse move highs. We're coming down to that area and kind of using it as support. I'm not 100% convinced we're going to see that as support, even though it's looking like it could be. We still have the 65 EMA right beneath it at 52 that I think could also provide some support. But this looks like an area, pretty much from the 65 EMA to like $55. Like that looks like an area where we could get the support that we need to turn this thing around. So I'm not 100% sure that we're done going lower off the highs here of 75 yet. But if we are, then this area we're kind of getting into where we could get some support to turn this around and try to recapture VWAP. I haven't seen the momentum swing in the other direction yet. That's why I'm not 100% convinced that we're quite there yet. But we are seeing some signs of bottoming. So that's kind of why I'm thinking that maybe this area from 52 to 55 is going to be an area to watch for support.
Okay. Real good stuff there. They also, Lion here was mentioning they got a $46 million grant. It looks like it was a $43.4 million U.S. Department of War funding to build out that antimony supply chain. Lion, I think this is what you were talking about. What's that?
Their financial position seems like they'll be fine. If they're going to be mining in Alaska with some of these other companies, then I expect money's going to get thrown right at them.
Okay. Real good stuff there. You learn something every day here real quick. Producer saying, wait, Jake is a Chelsea fan? Yeah, you know what? So am I. I can't even believe I haven't talked about this with the producer. We might be pissing him off a little bit. Yeah, Jake and I both Chelsea fans here. I might have to cue up the Chelsea song here just to set him off a little bit more. Okay, back to the market here. Was there anything else on your list that you wanted to cover here?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay,
but I do want to mention that some of those movers that we were looking at yesterday, like GWH and the other two off the top of your head, I'm sure. They all ended up moving really, really well after the lunch hour, and it's always worth mentioning that to keep an eye on a lot of these mover names because they do this stuff a lot, lately more frequently than they have been. So definitely keep an eye on these movers going, after the lunch hour. They have been putting in some really interesting moves.
Yeah, indeed. We so I thought you were setting me up there because I couldn't for the life of me get the ticker right yesterday. ELBM.
There we go. ELBM. Hey, I didn't even say anything about that.
Yeah, nope. And I did get it. And look, 13. Look what we got here today.
Yeah.
Based on the action yesterday, we actually have trend lines on both of these. Maybe these can get lit if they start going here today. Again, those tickers from yesterday pulling back here today, ELBM and GWH. 13, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only reason we're bringing this up is because this entire theme seems to be a thing, and maybe this gets kicked up again here in the session despite this kind of coming in. I know some of the times here we look at a mover that runs crazy one day, the next day it's a ghost town, doesn't really provide a trade. Might be a little bit different given the theme that we find ourselves in here today.
My whole thing is that if you're still trading throughout the day and in the afternoon and you're looking for something to trade, don't take these off your watch list. Just sometimes like three of them did it yesterday with really big gains. They can go on runs in the afternoon once that volume returns from the lunch hour. Absolutely.
Okay, real quick here, a couple more things that I wanted to mention. SSKN, looks like this is moving here. This was actually moving pretty recently. All right, SSKN, what do we have here? Strata. Skin Sciences publishes a clinical case study on a 308 nanometer excimer laser used in rare PMF subtype of cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. So it sounds like this is promising results in one of the trials here for lymphoma. Stock is up 66% on the back of this news and on some pretty good volume. An average stock trades 2.7 million shares. We've traded almost 43 million here today. Take a quick look at the short interest on this. I know I did that backwards. Don't sue me. 7.94% of the float shorted there with 1 day to cover. And the float on this bad boy, 3.29 million shares. So SSKN, not part of the theme that we're looking at, but a pretty huge move here. Actually, 2 impulse moves.
It kind of sounds, and I might be totally wrong about this, but it kind of sounds like that laser they're referring to is maybe laser, maybe an alternative to radiation therapy. Is that kind of what I'm getting from this? Yeah.
The producer is just locked in.
He had that ready to go. It was chambered and the hammer was back.
Let's go.
All right. So, man, that was great. But that's kind of what I was, reading into with this here is that might be some kind of alternative to radiotherapy for tumors, because it seems like a cancer angle, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, that's kind of what I was going to. I might be wrong about that, but maybe this is an alternative to radiotherapy. And that would be
well. Here we go. Fatty Liver King says we don't typically, as if he's part of the medical industry. So let us know if that's the case. We don't typically use radiation therapy for skin cancer. So I'll say this is definitely not my expertise. I would lean on the medical folks that know this one. Let me know. Yeah, okay. Anyway, SSKN, big rip here today. We'll see if this gets rolling here. A couple that I did want to mention, CRML. This also kind of fits into the the metals theme that we've been talking about the last few days here. You did a really good job mentioning GWH, AREC, which we discussed in the happy hour, also on the list as that continues to roll higher here. TMQ is another one that you should remember from when this kind of all kicked off here. It's also worth mentioning SES, which is an AI name that we've previously traded off the scanner. That is getting a pop here on some news. Shares are trading higher after the company signed a term sheet to establish a joint venture with Hisson New Energy Materials. One other one here, and I talked a little bit about this earlier, was Navitas. So for those that are joining a little bit lower here, ticker NVTS. Navitas Semiconductor shares are trading higher after the company provided a progress update on its development of advanced medium and high 800 VDC voltage GaN and SiC power devices. If you want a little bit more information, here's your Navitas article. I read this one earlier. This does a really good job of breaking down what's going on here, but this stock also in play here today. And now that we've given it some more time, we have another trend line that we can observe here.
Now, if we hold that moving average that you've got, I'd be looking for this to turn around, and the next visit, and it's likely going to be in the regular session. The next visit looks like it could make that move through the trend line. So if we can hold above that, I don't know what the moving average that is. It looks like the 65 EMA, the blue one.
Yes, blue one is the 65 EMA. Exactly.
Yeah, if we can get back above that and hold above that into the open, I think that's a likely scenario.
Okay. All right, really good stuff there. Fatty Liver King saying, I'm a med student, so take it with a grain of salt. Well,
I'll take the whole shaker. I'll take the whole shaker, just not the ocean.
I was going to say that's fair, but you are several steps ahead of me, so I'm going to lean on your expertise, even if you haven't fully completed med school. Yep. Most times I see like a 5 fluoresceal creams used. Okay. See, I don't even know how to pronounce that word, to be quite honest with you, but nonetheless, okay. Appreciate that. It'll be interesting to see how SSKN trades here today. Okay. Was there anything else off the list that you want me to cover, or any stock that you just want me to cover?
I want to cover whatever the chat wants to cover.
Perfect. I'm glad that you said that, because Supri is asking me right now about BCRX. This is BioCryst Pharmaceuticals. Is there news on BioCryst? Can you please take a look at it? Here we are. Stock was closed at 704 yesterday. It's currently at 671 here today. Let's take a look at the news pane and see if we had any fresh news here today. Indeed, we did. Tuesday, October 14th, BioCryst to acquire Astria Therapeutics, strengthening its presence in HAE, transforming its growth profile. HAE, I don't even know what that is.
The news, I think, caused that to drop, and then it rallied like $3.
Solidifies double-digit growth trajectory for HAE. I got to find out what this means. I'm sorry that I don't know. I thought that they would give it to me right here earlier in the PR. I'll see if I can figure that out. HAE portfolio solidifies double-digit growth over the next decade. BioCryst expects to remain profitable on a non-GAAP basis and cash flow positive post-transaction.
Hereditary angioedema therapy.
There we go. Thank you. And thank you for pronouncing it, because you let me off the hook on that one.
I know. So we're going to have to make sure that I pronounce that right with our meds. Did I get it right?
Yeah. So real quick here, all of that is to say that it acquires this therapeutics company for a mix of cash and stock at an implied value of $13 a share.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Well, there you go. Okay, that's what's going on here with BCRX. The other ticker there that it bought is in fact ATXS. That stock is up 41%. But remember, this is out on a takeover, so there's likely no trade here on this one. Instead, you'd have to be looking at BCRX. Super good question there on that one. SBLX also getting a mention here. Let's see if that's moving. Indeed, another timely mention here. Ryan, StableX technology shares are trading higher after the company partnered with BitGo for its digital asset treasury strategy. Okay, so we have another one of these. It's moving from a mid-5 handle up to a 7 handle. 750 is your pre-market high. Quick look at the short interest on this one, 14.66%. There's actually something here. One day to cover, though. Average 100-day volume, about 500,000 shares. Today we've done 2 million. Stock is under 1 million float, so maybe SBLX gets rolling here today. $100 million stablecoin investment treasury strategy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it looks like it's trying to hold the VWAP, and it just fell beneath it. So let's see what happens with the rest of this candle. This candle is going to drive us into the open. So if it can recapture, let's see, now it's back above VWAP. I'm not sure. Maybe this has some has enough volume to take this higher into the open, but we'll see here. I don't want to make any promises or anything with this one.
Okay. All right, really good stuff. 13, I'm going to flip over to the main workspace. Is there any stock that you want me to put in focus here while I run to the washroom ahead of today's open?
Well, Learn with Moses asked for TMQ. This is one of the other mineral plays in Alaska that is getting some attention this morning.
Which ticker?
TMQ.
TMQ, got it. Yeah. All right, be right back. 1 sec, 13.
No problem. So Trilogy Metals, this did have a nice run up in the pre-market here. Starting out at the open, it just kind of went from 675 all the way up to 890. Had a hard time staying up in the above 850. We lost VWAP in the process, but we are getting support from the 65 EMA, and that's kind of where the price is right now, caught between the 65 EMA and the VWAP. And as we approach the open, we're looking to get back above VWAP so that we can push higher. And it looks like at this moment, if we can get above VWAP, there's going to be some resistance up at about in the 815 to 820. That's after when we had this recapture of VWAP earlier this morning. That's about where it was running into, is the 815 to 820 area before it was rejected and lost VWAP again. So I'll be looking at that area as resistance if we can climb back above VWAP and into the open here. And we've got, let's see, we're at 2750. So we have basically 2 minutes left in this current candle to see if it can get back over that VWAP. What else did you guys want to look at? NVTSO is at 13 and 1310, says Marcus. So there you go. LAC, it's lithium. It moves with ALB. And we're going to probably see a lot of back and forth with lithium. for a time, but I think over the next year, we're going to see lithium prices rise. That'll be good for ALB and LAC and some of these other lithium names. But the nice thing about ALB is that they also have another angle too, and bromine is going to be a very important mineral that they also mine. But another nice thing about ALB is they also have a lot of low costs. So as lithium prices improve, their margins are going to improve. So I do like ALB on that front. And he's back.
I am back. I'm ready to go. I like that. I still like to wait out the opening print here a little bit, but I like being back and ready for it. So I'll take that.
At Amazon, because Izzy was asking about that.
Is there news on it? Did we get news?
There might be. I don't know. I can't see anything, but there's a big drop here. Yeah.
Minus 2.2% here. Amazon, that was from yesterday. Amazon, AbbVie, Datadog. These were final trades on CNBC yesterday. Stephen Weiss of Short Hills Capital Management said Amazon gained on Monday in the bounce back, but the stock has lagged over several AI plays. Preparing to hire 250,000 workers for its peak holiday season. They think maybe the tariffs can impact. I don't see a whole lot here, at least not from that article. Is there something else that I missed here? Obama tears into universities being bullied by Trump. Okay, I don't think that's a fact. I don't really see any news that would be affecting the stock price here.
I'm a graduate from Amazon University. Didn't you know?
I did not. No, but you learn something every day.
I'm kidding.
I know.
I was asked, do we feel like we're headed for a down day? And we are open. I can't say for sure. I really need to see my chart, and I'm just kind of going off my broker right now. It's not entirely impossible that we could. If we are, I'd be keeping an eye on that low that we had in the after hours yesterday at 646.20. All right, let's look at some of these movers here and see what's looking good. Okay, so GWAV, that opened beneath the VWAP, coming down to the 65 EMA, where it might get support.
GWL, what was that?
No, GWAV.
AV, sorry, my fault.
The G-Wave.
G-Wave, my bad.
So we're coming down here to test this trend line and the 65 EMA right now, and I think it would be, for this to go higher, we would need to hold this area right here at about 1660. And turn around and recapture VWAP. So that's the price action I'd be looking for here if we're gonna get back up into the 19 handle.
Okay, SBLX, that dropped out of the open and is immediately bouncing back to the VWAP right now. No position for me in this one. Haven't bought anything yet here today, but this is an interesting move here. Pull back or pull right out of the open, bounce back to the VWAP. We cannot close above it. I've got VWAP at 681 in my broker, 678 in TradingView. We are testing that area right now.
And we had a nice pop there with G-Wave over VWAP. So this looks like it's trying to get going here. So far, not bad. Now, there was another one that I saw, NVTS. It had a massive drop out of the gate here, went right down to the 200 EMA. It's currently getting support there, but it's not looking like it might be able to hold. I don't want to say that that's a for sure thing yet. We'll see what happens here, but it's looking like that the sellers are really hitting this EMA. So that's NVTS.
I'll tell you what, it'd be worth watching to see if this holds here.
TMQ popping. Sorry to keep jumping in front of you here.
No, you're good, man. You're totally good. We're in the phase right now. We're kind of getting a lay of the landscape. So poking around here, it makes a lot of sense. Izzy, on that Amazon pull, first of all, TMQ, this was a good mention. This is moving above the VWAP. Izzy, on that Amazon pull, let me know where it looks like there is a buy area there on Amazon. It maybe 214. I don't know. You're the one that watches Amazon every day. Let me know. Goldman Sachs, by the way, after its earnings, continuing to pull. Goldman Sachs now down over 3% here today. Let me check in on some of the other banks that reported earnings here this morning, like JP Morgan. They're down 1.17. Wells Fargo was actually holding higher here in the pre-market. They're still up just shy of 4%. So some relative strength here in Wells Fargo after this open.
Yeah, lots of things pulling out of the gate here.
Daniel says, I decided to switch back to my old broker and 90% of Chinese stocks are blocked. Okay. Okay. Well, what does that tell us? NUAI, this is another recent mover, AI mover here. WIS has been on. Let's see. Is this giving us anything here today? And your G wave, by the way, pulled down to that same area and held at 13.
Let's see what it can do. I mean, the volume needs to be better if we're going to go much higher. Otherwise, we're losing the 65 EMA. That was a nice pop out of the gate, but need to see that follow through. We're not getting it.
NUAI, this is a nice move out of the open here. Wasn't in this WIS, but really good stuff.
That looks great. Wow, NAC coming in after hitting 317 this morning.
NVTS so far has held that 200 EMA that you outlined there, 13. So it tested it here. Still a lot of selling in there, but so far so good. It has held it.
And SBLX is having a really nice move here. Back up through VWAP, looking for that 759 high in the pre-market. This is SBLX, StableX Technologies.
Rigetti, this pulling back a little bit here from the open. That actually in the pre-market erased the gains that the inverse had. SBLX you were looking at? Let's pull it up.
Yeah. That was looking pretty good.
They're pulling the big time mineral names like MP. Boy, this SBLX, you're not kidding. I'm sorry I had this one off the screen. No position on this trade for me. This is halted.
It's going to halt. Yep.
753. It is, in fact, halted on my screen here.
Oh, baby.
Okay, SBLX. Remember, this is StableX Technologies trading higher after it partnered with BitGo for a digital asset treasury strategy. That was your news catalyst here. That in an upside halt. What else do we see out here? Costco is higher. Amazon does look like it's slowed down at that 214. So it's at 214.50 right now. Yep, go ahead.
Jay Rice and Brian and everybody, like you guys are absolutely hitting it. They're, we're seeing a lot of these rare earth names just get absolutely hit. It's kind of pulling down some of the other weaker ones. Be careful, please.
Ondas pulled a little bit and lost 10 here. So it looks like some of the smaller spec plays also under pressure here today. Tesla revisiting its pre-market lows. We'll see if that breaks and has another leg lower.
AQMS, that bounced off the 200 EMA. This might have been one of the ones I was talking about with that EMA. It turned around and recaptured VWAP, trying to get above the 65 right now. We'll see if it has the strength to do that. Meanwhile, you have Greenwave still trying to push up. Running into a seller at 1860, but still looking pretty dang decent here after testing the 65 EMA. NVA also testing the 65 EMA and might be losing it, but it's still holding above it for the time being. Okay,
AQMS. I've got two different VWAP readings here. I've got VWAP at 1796 in my broker and 1838 in trading view here. This does look like it's trying to take it and go higher here. This is AQMS.
Sir,
this actually I think is going to halt here at 1818 if this holds.
G-Wave is halted.
AQMS halted to the upside here, 1818. Wow, that kind of happened sneakily. Here's G-Wave. You said this was halted too?
Yep, this is the one I was looking at this morning.
Okay,
here, so we might out of the halt we could get that break over that area I was talking about previously in the pre-market. So, giddy up, I guess.
I mean, I'm not in any of these, so I'm not excited because I'm not in any of the stocks that are halted here yet. Let's see. Raj says short all material stocks, pure garbage stocks. Izzy looking like 213.65 there on Amazon was your entry there.
Look at
65.13.
Did you say you managed to pick up because I did some RGTZ?
I did.
We're doing pretty good, dude.
Yeah, we talked about this. Okay, so we did actually break above 10 here. So we actually had this discussion in happy hour. We talked about it pretty in depth. The TLDR here is that, first of all, you should be ready to trade these positions. These inverse ETFs, you should be ready to trade in and out of them. So that's great. We talked about how Rigetti was up 25%. So RGTZ was down 50%. Figured like, hey, a regression back to the mean is probably something here. This is now into a 10 handle. We'll see if this goes higher. With the market being weak, I think we're probably in the catbird seat here, to borrow one of Anne-Marie's terms. We'll see where RGTZ goes. I don't have a whole ton. I just have several hundred shares of this. I don't have a ton, but at least we're up a couple $100 here.
Yeah, and one of the big resistance areas that we're coming up to, I'm sure you could see it from that chart right there. You see how we were going sideways toward the end of the day?
Yes, sir.
So there's a supply area there, and that's kind of what the price action ran into this morning when we opened and ran up to 1040. Looks like 1040 or 1039, 1040. So that area right there, that could be resistance because that's the very bottom of that sideways price action. Just something to think about as we get up here. If you're just looking to trade this only, that could be a good area to sell into.
Okay, one thing here real quick. RGTZ, current price here, about $10, just shy of $10. My entry on this trade in the after hours yesterday was $9.10. That's my average price. So right now, just to make sure I don't give all this back, I think I'm going to set a stop here about 940-ish.
Okay.
And maybe we'll move it around depending on what's going on here. But really, again, with this being a trade, probably be in and out of this back and forth a few times depending on how these quantums are doing. I just don't want this to go red. 910 is my entry price. I will not let it drop beneath that.
And we had I'm sorry, I didn't catch who it was that mentioned it, but PLTZ is also having a nice move this morning.
I think that was Kathy because she's been on top of this one.
Now we're kind of above some resistance levels with this one. Actually, we kind of pulled back a little bit, so we're kind of using them as support right now. But 782 was where we ended up running up to, and I still think there's a chance we may end up seeing 796 or 8 because that was the high in the after hours last week. So could end up going up to that price in the regular session here before we pull back.
Okay. All right. ELAB was getting a mention here from Daniel. Let's take a look here at ELAB. There we go, chart. Thank you. Okay, so ELAB maybe did hold that, 65 EMA? We are bouncing so far. That's a good mention there, Daniel.
It's getting a lift over it here. The 200 is what we bounced off of. That, and that was that same area where I was talking about in the after hours yesterday, where the price could get support at. That's kind of where we got it.
Sorry to interrupt. SBLX resumed. This did go as high here. What is this? 787, I think. 785, excuse me, is your high print here. This above the VWAP again. SBLX, that's a nice little rip there.
Yeah. I think still, be cautious with this one. If we do start to get some candles closing beneath the VWAP, that might indicate some rolling over coming up. So just keep that in mind. We are getting a little bit of pullback off, with PLTZ and RGTZ, but I have a feeling that we're not done seeing these move around.
Yeah, I think that's going to be in play all day here today. That halt for SBLX was a 5-minute halt. So it has halted and resumed already.
That means that G-Wave and AQMS could be unhalting pretty soon here as well.
That's right. That G-Wave halt happened at 9:36. That's about to unhalt here. Yep. I'll actually put it on the screen. CRML, by the way, is trying to bounce. We'll see if it gets back into that little sideways channel here. Here's G-Wave, which we think it might open here pretty soon. What was the other one that we had? GWH, right?
AQMS. It just opened.
AQMS, and that is, in fact, open here. Let's take a look at that. AQMS, this trying to move higher, got 1843 as your VWAP.
And G-Wave is now open as well.
And so they both opened here. Those were 5-minute halts on those. G-Wave here looking like a 20 test coming.
Remember, we're seeing some of these get hammered, so they could pull as well. Just be careful. I think this is a day we've got to be a little bit careful here.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think so too. I think if you have gains in any of these day trades, definitely don't be afraid to take them.
TMQ popping up here. Now the high of the, this is after hours. No, this is a pre-market. High of the pre-market 890. We already had one pop out of the gate here, but it was sold into. So that selling started to really pick up in the 8 handle, mostly around 825, 830. So as we approach that area, anticipate that there's some sellers, but also watch the volume because if that continues to expand, could push through that whole resistance area.
Okay, good stuff there on TMQ. Looking at the unusual options here, I am seeing more puts so far this morning on some of the big tech names. Also
G-Wave
seeing
halted.
some put flow there on Amazon. You said G-Wave halted for the second time?
Yep. Sir.
This 21 now.
Yep. So 22.56. That was the high from the pre-market. That's where we could likely go to next out of this halt. All right. Fun stuff either way. I'm glad to see the price action. SBLX really pulling now. Lost VWAP in the process.
Okay, let me put that up here. Sarah was responding to something there. Let me bring SBLX up on the screen.
All right.
Congrats to anyone that is in G-Wave. Tell you what, that moved quickly. That was kind of a tough entry there, but good for anyone that hit it. Shaza, yes, G-Wave is in fact halted for the second time here this morning.
And NKLR, we had some selling out of the gate there down to 1655, but that has reversed and it's recaptured VWAP, now trying to reclaim the 65 EMA. Let's see here.
Please check IONZ. You got it, Chester. That's going to be one of those ETFs for Ionic. I think this is one of the down ones, right? Yeah, 2x short.
Yeah, the Defiance one, same ETF as PLTZ and RGTZ, Defiance Daily.
Okay. Man, Bitcoin really hurt here. Bitcoin 110,000, Ethereum following the way down there. That ETHA and a 29 handle.
What was the company? What was the company that announced the partnership for the crypto treasury?
The treasury strategy here. I forgot which one that was. One sec. It wasn't SSKN. That was the other one. AQMS.
Was it that one or there was one? There was one.
It was one of these. Yeah, I just can't remember which one it is.
Yeah, I just want to see if they actually are trading up or down off this news or off this environment. Anyway, also getting a mention here from producer that LAES, Seals SQ, and Weekend Group announced strategic collaboration to develop post-quantum KYC solution.
It was this one. It was SBLX. It was StableX Technologies partnered with Gitco for 100 million digital asset treasury in stablecoin. Looks like.
So how is that one trading? Is that trading lower, or is that just kind of?
That's right at its VWAP. It's actually trying to hold its. And just as I said that, it slipped beneath the VWAP. I'm sorry about that, folks.
No, Jay.
Curse of the commentator, I'm afraid.
Jay, it's I'm on 5-minute charts, and it's the 65 EMA. That's what I'm using on the 5-minute.
As a rule of thumb, any intraday charts, whether it's 1 minute, 15-minute, or 5-minute, are probably the EMAs.
Yeah, and if it's a different time frame, I'll specifically say it. But if I'm referring to these EMAs and these VWAPs, I'm always looking at a 5-minute chart, unless I say otherwise. Yeah. All right. Well, looking like we're getting some weakness across all these mover names.
Seeing some call flow here in some of the Bitcoin miner names: Cypher Mining, ticker CIFR, Riot, Wolf, CLSK, and Hut, all getting call flow on the back of each other there right now. CIFR is trying to turn around here, but still beneath VWAP. And actually, we have a trend line. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, market is trying to turn around here. I got a 5-minute chart up here with SPY, and that is producing it's currently producing its first green candle of the regular session. So it looks like we're trying to get catch some bids here. Still beneath VWAP. Need to get above 655.50 to reclaim that. We'll see if that can do that. Right now, it's just trying to turn around.
AQMS is out of its halt. There are a lot of halts here today. You're absolutely right about that. AQMS is open and moving lower from its VWAP. SBLX also open here. We just talked about that. That's so far doing an all right job holding above its VWAP here. And we're expecting G-Wave to open soon. That was in an upside halt in a 21 handle.
What was the halt time on that? Because we already had a 5-minute. And we might get another one of those, but
halt time on the second one, 9:42:54.
Okay, so that's already 5 minutes has passed.
No, not quite. Almost 20 seconds away. You're right. You were 20 seconds away on that. Very close. SDST is indeed halted. I gotta say, big time shout out to the Benzinga Pro development team. I know several of you were actually complaining about the signals tool having a delay around the open. It looks like that is completely resolved. This is day 2 now of this thing pretty much being locked in on that. So big pain point, big time shout out to the dev team who's been squashing all these little bugs.
NAK, this had a big drop out of the gate, found some footing at 245, and it's trying to recover. I'm concerned that some of these lows in the pre-market are going to be resistance. So some of those lows that you see in the pre-market session, keep an eye on that if the price can manage its way through it. Because if it can't, I think this NAC is going to probably end up trading back beneath the VWAP and going lower.
Okay, you're also right here at that 65 EMA on the 5. It's doing its absolute damnedest to get above and hold above.
G-Wave didn't open yet, so I don't think it's a 5-minute.
I think you're right. I think that's going to be a 10-minute halt, in which case we'd be looking at 52 as the opening time. 52 and then almost 53.
Yeah. And Jay, how about that opportunity there in NKLR? It went down to 1655. Looks like it's trying to recover here, but we still have some a little bit more supply ahead to get through here. But if we do, then we're looking at a move over 1950.
Do we think that this NKLR that you guys have been talking about, formerly GSRT, do we think that this actually represents a swing long opportunity here? No position for me, just kind of wondering myself.
Well, I think I would defer to Jay on that one, because for me, the theme is getting a little crowded, and we're starting to get a little bit of selling pressure in some of these names. Eventually this will probably end up being really good and make some higher moves up. But I think there's some pressure, at least today. And don't forget, we also have another potential, another nuclear name that's coming to the market via SPAC not too long from now. They're actually voting next week on the 20th. It's HOND.
HOND, yeah.
Yeah, so that's another one that's going to also get included in the space here. And there might see some movement out of the other names in order to go into the newer ones. So just something that might happen. I'm not a guarantee, but it's just a possibility that exists.
Okay, Jay here saying the opportunity, better opportunity was last week under 10. Okay, so yeah. I think we're waiting for a pullback here as that thing's pretty much doubled.
And that's kind of what I'm going with when on the HOND. We still have yet to go through the voting process, which happens next week. So they're still a SPAC, and they're still going to that one could still have some opportunities. I haven't read into that one as much as I did with GSRT and NKLR, but I think my understanding for that one is that the nuclear angle is going to be like molten salt, I believe, molten salt reactor. So. Okay. Supreme Court rebuffs challenge to federal protections for tech platforms. I didn't know that was the thing. Okay.
SSKN, it looks like this is trying to push through its VWAP. So far, it's holding 220. Let me just roll through some of these other stocks. EDHL, this is Eventbrite. They were a penny stock graduating to dollar territory. Stock's up 112% here. AREC, which we talked about, that's bouncing off of the 200 EMA. NVTS, which we also talked about, looks like that's trying to bounce off the 200 EMA. And LAES Seals Q, which you have talked about recently, 13, is ripping out of the open here.
Yeah, this is coming up to an interesting spot where there could be some resistance. There's some consolidation back from the end of last year, beginning of this year, that it's coming up into. So it looks like about 8, somewhere around, in the vicinity of $8 to as high as maybe, 10 is going to probably carry a good amount of sellers that could keep this, upside suppressed. And even if you look even further, you can see that back in 2023, this 850 area was support, and it's since become resistance. And it's been that way ever since then. Even when we had that pop at the end of the year, beginning of this year, it was still rejected in that same area. But that's kind of what I'd be looking at here with LAES. It's going to have to chew through the supply zone, where I'm sure there's still some bag holders up there in order for this to go higher. So just something to keep an eye on with this.
NNE here bucking the overall market, which is definitely weak here. Breath is red across the board here. NNE, this actually was lower in the pre-market, has gone green here. It's green by 4% here. I'm going to take a look at ACLO as well and see if we get similar movement. ACLO
Open
really doing
G-Wave.
the opposite.
G-Wave is open, and we're higher than the pre-market, so we got that.
Okay, it looks like that popped towards 24. Good stuff for any of you that were in G-Wave. Tuna, you took this one, didn't you?
And
that was a
down.
good trade.
And it filled the gap. And then it rebounded. Well, be careful or you know, do what you're going to do with this one. But man, what a bunch of wild price action.
I do have that filling the gap, 21.79.
SBLX looks like it's going to roll over. If we can't hold this the 650 area that it's coming down to, I think it's going to head lower, probably down to 575.
SBLX, you said, huh?
Yeah, it's looking a little weak. The momentum is starting to curl over here, and that 650 area was there. It goes. It just went right through it.
Really good mention there, 13. You were on top of that. I couldn't even get the chart up fast enough. G-Wave, by the way, new highs now. 24 is your high print on the day.
Bang! That trend line was actually great because we got a break through it, back tested it, and launched right off of it. Excellent trend line price action.
Yeah, and you know what? That was actually on my other one, but I'll re-add it here. You're absolutely right. That looked pretty good. On this bouncing back, that's good to see. PayPal's bouncing back. Tesla holding 420. LOL. Bitcoin looks like that's trying to bounce off 110,000. We'll see if Ethereum or any of the other coins can follow suit.
Getting a pull here in LAES. Looks like NAC is still trying to recover. Hasn't pulled above the 65 EMA yet, but it is above the 200. So we'll see if that, and the VWAP. So we'll see if it can hold above those.
Pretty good bounce there. NNE, by the way, Tennis, I know you brought up NNE. That was a nice little rip there. Seeing some puts get bought into that move higher. These are the 47s for this week. So that is absolutely a short-term trade. More put flow now, all for the 48 strike to October 17th. It looked like there was pretty good size there on those NNE put sweeps there.
NAK, if we lose the 200 EMA and the VWAP here, because we just, kind of, it looked like we put in a reversal candle a moment ago. If we lose those two indicators, then this might end up falling much lower. So just something to keep an eye on. It could even go down to $2 even.
Okay. G-Wave here, 24, still your high. That's pulling back and trying to fill the gap to the downside. Really good mention there on that. Jay, you were talking about some of these home builders here. Glad you threw out some of the tickers there. The home builders that Jay is looking at here, these having some relative strength in the market session that we're seeing here today. Jay listing Lennar, ticker LEN, DR Horton, ticker DHI, and Toll Brothers, ticker TOL. Here's a look at those charts. Also, Dan looking at ETF Nail there.
I think Hakeem had mentioned something earlier this morning about how the 10-year lost 4%.
So let me pull it up here, Treasury yields. When I signed on here today, I saw that it was 4.005.
Uh-huh.
So if that would be interesting if we dipped under. That'd be good for the market, I feel like.
It'd be great for these housing stocks because mortgage follows the 10-year.
My VPN won't let me see the Treasury yields. That's weird.
All right, let's see here. Oh, look at that moving NKLR. This thing is on a tear. It's actually up to the highs of the pre-market here. So NKLR, we're about to put in a new all-time high. 1947 is okay. Now it's through 1950. Here comes 20, maybe.
Look at Nail. You're not kidding about this outperforming. Massive move higher here.
I mean, do any of those names that you just looked at, do they say anything in their newsfeed about why they're going? Because I would imagine it's probably something related.
You know what? Good mention there, 13. I just took a peek at the charts. I figured that would have been included there, but let me take a look here. I have the most recent news was from last week on these names.
I think I would still kind of pin it on the 10-year falling under 4. That would make the most sense to me, but maybe there's something else I'm just not seeing. All right. What have we got here?
All right. 2 for 2 today. Izzy, nice job. That'll do a register ring. I'm 0 for 0 here today. Definitely playing a little bit more defensive. And then grats to anyone else that hit G-Wave. That's out now in a downside halt at 2025. But that actually gave, almost 7 points of movement peak to trough? Or trough to peak, I guess, to reverse that?
It looks like $16.50 to $24. That's like that's $7.50, right? That's pretty dang good. That's pretty dang good.
Sure is.
And it is halted down, G-Wave.
Polaris here. We talked about this one. This is one of the stocks in focus from the morning. This gave back some of its gains in the pre-market, higher out of the open, but really can't get above 68 and change. 69 might be a resistance area there. Elab, which got mentioned earlier, let's see where that's at here now. Elab looks like that's still doing its best to hold on to that 200 EMA.
It looks like both Amazon and SPY, they're on the recovery since hitting the lows, but they're not back above the 65 EMA. Both of them aren't.
Let's take a look at some of the quantum names here. I'll take a look at the actual underlying itself. Let's see where Rigetti is. Rigetti down 3.3%. That's great. Means we should be up about 6% on the RGTZ. This chart to me looks like we're probably going to retest 52 here today on RGTI. See if that changes. Rocket also going higher. It's ticker RKT. We talked a little bit about some of the home builders. Rocket here, mortgage origination, not home building, but in that same sector, it's actually going higher here.
Maybe there's something in the news about that. Then that would be one that's probably more closely tied with the 10-year rate changes than the home builders. I think the home builders only really benefit from shorter term rates because they're trying to borrow to build, not borrow to own the buildings.
Yeah, still no news here. On Friday last week, we got a raised price target from UBS to 17, and BTIG reiterated buy with a $25 price target. Both of those were new news on Friday, October 10th.
Look at the daily price action on Rocket. It looks like it's trying to establish some footing.
Okay, that'd be great. I still have a stop on the trailer here. I'm not going to let that dip beneath 3 on those calls. Goldman Sachs looks like that might have put in a near-term bottom here right out of the open. And the VIX, by the way, that someone mentioned the VIX earlier. That spiked up to 22.94, but has backed off that. We're actually back into a 21 handle. We were dealing with VIX in a 15 handle for a long time. Great to see VIX up a little bit. Generally speaking, when we broke 15 to the downside on VIX, that really kind of ignited a sell-off. Here we are holding steady, pretty steady, I should say, between 21 and 22.
Looks like one name, it's not up that much. It's only up 8%, but I was just cycling through some of these names from yesterday. GV is up 8%, but it's not. I don't think there's a trade there.
Okay. Big B saying, take a look at SPY. We're shaping up for a V-shaped recovery on the day. Let's go. So we've got a couple of Vs, it looks like, in here. Honestly, Big B's, what I would really need to see here, a move through 658. We move through 658, take out some of this pre-market area, then maybe we can close the gap up towards 662.
Yeah, that seems like what could happen here is that we fill this gap on the SPY daily chart as a result of the low open here, and then I think we could reverse.
Okay.
After we fill the gap.
Lion here says, great day to shop around. Yep. I still have a list of things that I'm looking for. Not going to be too aggressive in capital deployment today. I am very interested to see where everything closes here today and what the candles end up looking like. However, Shanikala says, sell the news.
I feel like having your shopping list ready is a really good idea. I feel like this month is going to have a lot of volatility in it, and with all the things that are coming up, and especially into the end of the month with the FOMC rate decision. So once we get past all that, I think that will start to become a really good time to be shopping around.
Yeah, and full disclosure here, we talked a little bit about the market really kind of bottoming in middle of October, which is tomorrow. October 15th is tomorrow. But take that with a grain of salt too, because we did not see the seasonality in September that we expected to see. So perhaps we would see a altered timeline on when that bottoms. To your point there about some of those events, maybe it bottoms in later October.
Let's see, under 11 bull. So Izzy's picking up bull under 11. Is it under 11 right now?
Yeah. So is that a long term? I know we talked a little bit about bull yesterday. Do you have a long term view on that, or is that more just kind of like a short term trade? Izzy, on that sub 11 drop there? We're not under 11 yet. It looks like it did pull down to 11 here, and then we also have this support area. This is the bottom end of this trend line. I think you had me draw this. This was from the IPO origination.
Yeah, I think so. And I think for me, I want to see what kind of candle we end up with today and tomorrow. I think that would be just because I'm curious to see if we're going to end up going lower, or if we're trying to put in some kind of a bottoming of the price action. So that's where I'm at with bull right now. I'd want to see what happens today and tomorrow.
Okay, Izzy here clarifying. Thank you, Izzy. That's a long-term position there on bull. Look, I totally understand that. Several folks are looking for that. Yep. Totally get it after what we saw there with Hood. Zoltan mentioning a small position in Albemarle. This is what we talked yesterday about, this being one of the best in breed for lithium and some of that battery play. Albemarle down 3.5% here today. Zoltan, I like this. I like this. I think I'd be inclined to add a little bit more, even if this came in towards 88. Albemarle, I think the bottom is probably in here, and it bottoms down here in a 50 handle, but I think the bottom's probably in here. We did recently break this trend line that was, I think, a several-year trend line. Yeah, indeed it is. This goes back to 2023, right? Yeah, the end of 2023. So we're over that trend line here. I like that, Zoltan. What kind of time frame? And are you just buying stock? Are you basically just holding stock for the long term for that? Let me know time frame on that trade.
Yeah, I think he's looking long term as I am.
Yeah,
I'm also an ALB. But I've been buying. I was buying a while back too. When we were much lower.
All right, G-Wave, this was a pretty good bounce for any of you that are still in and or trading G-Wave here. It looks like we're moving higher now, perhaps back up towards that 24 spot. We're still above the trend line and the VWAP, so all of this looking pretty good. And oh my God, RGTZ popping now. Rigetti must be selling off. Okay, there we go. A little flush to 50. We'll see if 50 breaks on Rigetti. You think we probably see a 48 if it does.
Look at RGTZ. We're right in that consolidation area that I was talking about from yesterday. The sideways price action going into the close, and we're at that 200 EMA on the 5-minute as well. So we're right at that resistance area where I was looking at RGTZ potentially running into. Right there, right now.
I'm not going to break out into song because nobody wants that here. Zoltan says the Albemarle time frame there, 3 to 4 years. Kathy saying it's time to add Rigetti. So, Kathy, I think you're playing Rigetti here for a bounce on this little bit of a flush. And your EIX, by the way, Zoltan mentioning that your EIX here is climbing a little bit. 13, I think you gave that out last week, if I'm not mistaken.
I was saying I think it's time. I think it's about time for this one. I think a lot of the bad news has been priced in. And
didn't they just catch the arson that started these fires? The Palisade one, at least?
They caught him. He was in Florida. I don't think that necessarily absolves EIX from all liability, but the state of California being the state that it is, they have funds for utilities for disasters like this that I'm certain are going to be tapped by EIX. Also, they just recently won back some money from a settlement from the 2017 to 2018 Woolsey fire. I think that was like $2 billion.
Mhm.
So that's going to add some liquidity and lower interest and fewer interest payments or lessened interest payments to them as well. So lots of things turning around here for the company. I think it's about time. This is looking pretty good now.
Okay, interesting there. EIX. And that also is a fairly longer term swing for you, right?
It's not a swing. It would be an investment because this thing is right now is paying a pretty good dividend being down here. It's like 6.5%.
Okay. Really good stuff there. Jay saying the Yankees lost, so short Rigetti spaghetti. What's the connection to the New York Yankees and Rigetti? There might be one. I don't know what it is. I'm asking honestly.
Was there
out of ignorance
there
there
with a similar sounding name? Maybe
they might have an ad or something in the cathedral. Let me know what the connection to Yankee Stadium or to the Yankees to Rigetti is. That's interesting. Oh man. I don't know. I can do your name.
I knew it. It was a name. Rigetti was a pitcher.
Oh, okay. A Yankees pitcher. Okay. I'm going to try this name here. Okechukwu Asimosa holding Rigetti got in at 1089. So, wow. Okay, I have to, first of all, that's a great trade. I'm sorry for butchering your name. I did the best that I could. What is the exit plan? If your plan right now is to hold after what, a 5x move, what is the exit plan eventually? Whether it's time frame or something, a price level, story change, what is it that would cause you to book some of the gains, at least partial on that move? Eddie Liver King says the connection is that they both suck. That's someone that doesn't like the Yankees right there. Dave Rigetti was a pitcher. Yeah, okay. You know what? Jay, of course, saying you guys are too young. I mean, that's what old people say. But just kidding. I love you. But also, I should have known that. I know Dave Rigetti. I should have put that one together. -1 point for me.
I mean, honestly, I'm just not as big of a baseball fan as I am.
Yeah, and I get it. I will say for anyone, the playoffs right now are pretty good. The modernization changes they made to baseball, the pitch clock, it's good. It makes the game. It didn't lose any of the excitement. The games are shorter, but that's an aside here. Okay, what else we got moving around here? Let's take a look. Let me go into intraday chart on some of these. G-Wave looks like this backed off. This is still above its trend line, though, so maybe it's not done yet. It has backed off those highs, though. Yeah,
Lion, that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the bad news has been priced in, it's behind us, and that recent ruling that got them $2 billion back from the Woolsey fire, that was huge. So I'm really thinking that it's about time. EIX seems pretty good now.
So right here, INDI, this was one of those smaller semiconductors. Jay, I think you talked about this maybe even years ago at this point. This rocketing here. INDI, what's going on here? Do you know who Thurman Munson is? Yeah, he was a catcher for those Yankees, right? Thurman Munson. I do know that one. What else do we have here? What am I missing?
SPLX is really, really halted to the downside. Like we're coming down to the 65 EMA, and that's
oh my,
yeah. So that party certainly was looking over, and it seems like it might be for now.
How about this? INDI, that little semiconductor that I was just talking about there. Indy's narrow line width distributed feedback, visible lasers empower quantum enhanced technologies.
How?
So how? So are we getting a move maybe into quantum here with that? Uh-oh, getting blown up here at work.
Hey, Daniel, if you nailed G-Wave, grats. Excellent. TMQ, yeah, that's still making some moves. Where was that? I had that on my chart a second ago. Yeah, that one's looking like it's trying to push up to that 890 high from the pre-market. We're not too far away, about 55, 60 cents. Looks like Palantir is turning around, coming back up. It's okay. I don't think it'll be up here forever. LAES continues to climb. 750 is the current high. Looking to push over that right now. I see a good amount of shares in the way of sellers at 749 and 750.
I'm sorry, on which one?
LAES.
LAES, got it here.
Yeah, if we can continue with some volume expansion and get through that 750, it looks like 757 and 60 is going to have the next tranche of sellers. PLTZ losing the 65 EMA. This is about the spot where we would have to find support if we're going to turn around here. Otherwise, we're going to probably come down to the 200 on the 5 minute. Yeah, it looks like a lot of stuff has slowed down.
Okay. Jay here regarding INDI, did a deep dive into the company. Some very smart guys running it, but was too close to the MBLY model. Don't own it anymore. What?
That's MBLY is Mobileye.
Mobileye, yeah.
Yep.
So you don't own that one anymore. Nice move here today. It is what it is. So your deep dive did not produce what you wanted to see, I'm guessing. And market is bouncing here. It looks like some of these quantum names are coming back. Kathy, I think it was you, said it's time to add Rigetti when that was really pulling. I'll tell you what, this is a $2.23 bounce from the low print, Kathy.
Oh, hey, Fatty Liver King. No problem. I wish you were here with us at the beginning of the year when I was talking about this and the fires that were about to happen. And I think it was Lion that absolutely made a killing on this when he shorted it through puts. Before that, I was talking about this like literally the day before the stock completely tanked off the fires because I'm from the area. I know how bad fires can get. Now I wasn't expecting it to get as bad as it did, but man, it was. We were talking about it like literally the day before it dropped. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was. I remember that day. That was a really good mention there.
Yeah, so man,
and I remember when we started to see what came out regarding those fires, that it was going to be pretty clear that there were other people at fault. Let's just put it that way. I'm not trying to start any fights here. There were other people at fault there than the power company itself.
Yeah. That was fantastic. Let's see if we can find some more of those. TMQ continues to climb. Still looking to see if we're going to get to that 890 high in the pre-market. Just mark that off if you want, because I think we're going to be testing it here. But we do need to get some better volume going here, because this was the area in the pre-market where sellers were stepping in and really trying to push it down. That's why you had that series of upper shadows there during that time. Need to see some more volume to get through this area.
NUAI keeps plugging away. I'm sorry I keep taking this off the screen. I know WIS has been mentioning this for several days now at this point. I think, didn't this come from penny territory? I feel like the first day we talked about it was a move from like 80 cents to $1 territory. This has been straight up on volume out of the day here.
On September 9th, it traded at a price of 32 cents.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds about right. Zoltan saying rotation into financials and utilities is happening. That's interesting because we looked at some of these banks that reported earnings here this morning. All of them were lower and then lower out of the open. Are any of these catching a bid now?
And
here's Goldman Sachs. This is bouncing off the bottom.
Yeah, and the banks they're poised to be doing a lot of lending. So, we're seeing a lot of these names that should be raising capital. So imagine that's going to happen.
Zoltan, what's your favorite bank play out of curiosity? What's your favorite bank play? I kind of like Goldman Sachs, but I'll be honest, I haven't traded the banks in a hot minute.
Cyril mentioning GEV. This is GE
Verona, right?
Vernova, yeah. Another name that's trying to get through. Okay, so we're at a spot right now where we're at the 65 EMA on the 5-minute, but we're also dealing with this large amount of consolidation from the pre-market here. This is the area, like literally from what is this, 630 to 634. That whole area of consolidation there is currently keeping the price from going much higher. So I need to see some more volume to chew through all those sellers and try to get up through some of this higher up supply here in the higher 630s. Man, 600 and that's a pricey stock. Wolf says Kevin Robinson, W with a U.
Yeah, we asked Meshi about that here this morning. This has been a huge winner for the T3 guys, him and Red Dog. There were a couple others that hit this one.
Only
Wolf,
one
big
red
rip
candle.
out of the open.
Yeah, well, had one red candle, took it down to where everybody was loading up, down to 1330. And here we are at 15 now, ripping. And UAI kind of going sideways at the moment.
This Wolf here, this had a $3.2 billion senior secured notes offering.
And Nail is climbing higher, so the builders are likely climbing higher as well.
Yeah, Rocket at the intraday highs as well.
Oh geez, PLTZ really just fell.
Palantir has actually made a pretty good move to the upside here. Maybe some of the quantum names follow. Here's what your Palantir chart looks like. Sure looks like 170 was the support area here.
Iren to Tennis's life. And
they got an upgrade from Cantor, didn't they? Iren?
Sure.
Let me check.
Hey, Moses, there's going to be a lot of individual names that I don't think we should. You can if you want, like where you just buy a whole bunch of them, or just get one that's really good. TMQ, I'm sure is going to be great. So I think you'll do fine long term with that.
Yeah, Iren here. Cantor Fitzgerald maintaining overweight, price target 100. They went from 49 to 100. BTIG went from 32 to 75 on Iren.
Is there some broader market news happening? Because Jay's mentioning that the airlines are green too. That's interesting.
Bitcoin at the highs. Feds Bowman says new stress test proposals are coming out soon. Jamie Dimon says auto companies reveal very early signs of excess in corporate lending. BlackRock CEO Gary Fink was on CNBC saying the greatest risk we have for the U.S. economy is our deficit. If we do not grow our economy by 3% over the next 10 years, our deficits are going to overwhelm the economy.
Okay.
I don't really see anything here attributing to like the exact move higher that we're seeing here, 13.
UNH looking good, says Joseph Schmo. And Lion is waiting for another short report. I'd imagine we'd see one pretty soon,
Didn't we have a Fuzzy Panda one the other day?
We did. I can't remember who it was in.
Me either.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
It's probably just a quick Google away. How's Google doing, by the way? We talked about that news earlier that search is not going anywhere. AI is not cannibalizing it. A lot of people like Google here higher. Google down 0.2% here, 0.3. Would actually really love for this to pull back to the trend line.
I think it might have been RCAT.
Oh, yeah. I think you might be right.
I think it was RCAT.
RCAT down 5% here. Ondas also down 5%. So the drone's kind of under pressure here. Let's figure out when that was.
Should have been the 10th last week on Friday, I believe. That was the 10th, right? Yes.
Friday was the 10th. Fuzzy Panda says short red cat issues a cautious report. So there you go. I actually don't have a link to this report, Lion, so maybe that would be something to go look and see if we can find the Fuzzy Panda short report on red cat. Let me know if you're buying that. That was our most recent short report.
Hey, Voodoo, how you doing?
Morning, Voodoo. Good to see you.
Okay? I gotta ask you to pull up Ionic. I want to see the 5-minute chart on that, and if there's
I gotta refresh my platform. Hang on a sec.
Intraday double bottom. It was in his inbox. All right. He gets he gets those sent to him.
Yeah, that's what we were saying, Jay. We were saying there recently, over the past several days, there was a short report. We were trying to look that up. We were very clear about that.
Yep. TMQ over 9. Nice. Yeah, so I was just looking to see if intraday we've got a double bottom in IonQ.
Here is your TMQ above that pre-market high.
IonQ.
Sorry, I was just going with what the chat was
saying.
Gotcha.
No,
I know you had asked me to do this. I refreshed. It took me forever. I forgot because of goldfish memory.
The snack that smiles back.
I wasn't thinking about that, but that's good. Here's your IONQ chart. Did you want me to do something with this?
Yeah, can you zoom in on today? It looks like we were, because the Ion Z looked like it was double topping. So I was just wondering if we were kind of finding some support somewhere here in Ion Qs. Just
yeah, 76.
Okay,
looks like.
Okay, so we are beneath VWAP. So if we can't get above that all that pre-market, most of that pre-market sideways action in VWAP, then that 76 is going to be coming to test later to the downside. Green thumb memory. That is a good circle back. That was funny.
What? Yeah, I'm trying to place it. I don't know. I don't get why that's so funny.
Because you were talking earlier about how you tried to do the marijuana stocks trade.
Oh God, that's right.
And you called yourself the green thumb trade or something.
Oh God.
He's circling back. That was good.
Okay, that was such a good circle back that you lost me on the circle back. Not bad though.
I got your joke. It was a good one.
Jay-Z, I got no new trades today, my man. No new trades for me here today. Playing defense, didn't really see a lot of great setups. Really, the only two stocks that have moved here were TMQ and G-Wave. Yeah. I didn't buy any of those.
That's my only trade today was G-Wave.
We did have the Amazon bounce was called by one of the chat members here earlier. This ended up working. I didn't take this one either. 213 did look to be that spot. I think we were asking initially if it was going to be 213 or 214. This here multi-point bounce there on Amazon. That was another one called from the chat here. I might be missing another one, but I'm pretty sure it was just G-Wave from Smoke Tuna earlier. TMQ for those that were setting up. Wiss mentioned NUAI, but that pretty much ran out of the open. And then also Amazon here.
And NAK is not having the same kind of day that TMQ is.
And the only open trade that I am probably going to close here today, or at least partial, I guess, depending on what happens, is RGTZ. But that wasn't a new trade for this morning. That doesn't really count. This was actually bought in the after-hour session yesterday when we were watching this trade down. So still long this for a trade here today, but this was not initiated here today.
Yes. So yeah, Rocket Lab is having a good day. We did have some good movement in the space names yesterday ahead of that Starship flight, test flight 11. Everything went successfully with that. Had 2 planned explosions. That was spectacular. And that was the end of the Block 2 configuration and all launches from Tower 1 at Starbase. Now we're going to be moving to the Block 3 Starship configuration. That's going to be a bigger ship. And it's going to be launched from Tower 2 that they are still kind of finalizing the water diversion and flame trench. But that tower is more or less ready to go otherwise.
I don't know if there's a cooler word anywhere than flame trench. That to me, I mean, we might need to create a company and name it that. That's just a power name right there. Flame trench. I love that. Wolf here. This running up to the highs. And you guys are also mentioning PPTA. I feel like we've looked at that one here before. I don't know if that's doing anything here today. I'm pretty sure that was lower. Yeah, that's still lower here. 4.5%. You know what though? Maybe this is just going to hold 25. Here, let's take a look at a longer chart here, PPTA. Yeah, this is definitely one that we've looked at before. This has made a huge run here. Would love if this could pull back to that 24, maybe 24 and a half. Looks like 25 and a half is what stopped it today, though.
So one thing about Rocket Lab here that I'm seeing is that this is trading up into some consolidation from yesterday's pre-market. And you know, when we opened yesterday, this thing hit a high of 70.44, but it came right back in and went lower all the rest of the day. The consolidation is the thing I'm concerned about, because this seems like an area where this could the upward price action we're getting right now could come to an end. So I would expect at least a pullback somewhere up around here, maybe a little bit closer to 70, but we're right about that area in Rocket Lab where I would think that some selling starts to some selling pressure starts to rise.
Lion, I just had PPTA on the screen, my man. We literally just looked at it. Looked at it.
Flame trenches. So World War I, because of all the rockets they were launching. I'm just teasing you, man. Silver, yeah, silver's been fantastic. We were over 50 yesterday. Were we still over 50 now? We pull it back. Yeah, let me look here.
Wise Key, this actually had some news here this morning about its 2025 revenue. This is still higher by about 26%. I think Tuno called this one earlier too, or mentioned it.
Yep.
W Key, big rip here.
Above $50. You know what's great is that my nephew, I bought an ounce of silver for him just to kind of get, because he's been excited about investing. So I've got him an ounce of silver back in March. He's up over 51%.
Is he getting into it because of that?
Yes, he is. He's
good.
He's really he's kind of surprised. He's checking the prices every day.
Oh, that's
I may have created an animal.
Yeah, that's a good thing though. That's a good thing there, 13. That will get you everything around here.
And you know what? You may end up seeing him in the future MLB star. He's actually quite phenomenal baseball player.
Okay. I'm all about that. Hopefully he plays for the Cubs. Would love even more so if he played for the Cubs and then beat the Orioles so we could rub it in Tim Melvin's face. That would be something else.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that's not my fight. So you guys have a good time.
I got that one myself. No doubt about it.
Hey, Joseph. Awesome.
I buy Christmas presents, 1 ounce of silver coins for my nephews too. That is awesome.
Awesome.
Stock, coins, things like that. Big fan of that. LAS looks like 750 is going to be your high there. See if we can get above that. Maybe that sets up for another move through those highs. We'll see.
I feel like when it comes to young adults and kids that you're trying to get into investing, I think it really resonates with them more when they can actually hold the thing that they're invested in.
About it.
So that's why I do like the physical metal as an early start for investing, because it really does get them excited when they can hold the thing that's increasing their value.
And the other thing is, metals are especially good for that. It's shiny. Right. Oh, yeah. You give them a piece of stock paper and says this represents a share in a stock. It's like, okay, cool. But it's not a shiny piece of metal. It's not a piece of gold or a hunk of silver. Yeah. And I agree with Empyrean here. I say this all the time, probably to the point of boredom. Best way to build wealth is to start saving and investing earlier. The earlier you do that, the better off you'll be.
Well, anybody seeing anything that's really looking like it's got a good setup or it's interesting and maybe it's even moving right now? Because things are looking like they're going sideways or rolling over for the most part.
I don't have the itch to really kind of trade anything here today, to be honest.
It looks like NAC might be trying to come back here. It's in the process of recovering the 200 EMA and the VWAP on the 5-minute chart. We did run into some trouble here up at around 280. That's about where the 65 EMA is. So at the very least, we could see it move up to that level before it reverses. But if there's enough volume to take it higher, then we might just go through that and have to deal with the consolidation above 3.
And then Wiss wants to take I know you said NAC there. Wiss wants to take a look at LAC, LAC. That's Lithium Americas. That's ramping here. This is kind of why I was asking earlier about, is there more room to go on this minerals, lithium, battery trade? I suspect that there is. This LAC reversal, pretty awesome and pretty good for a trade here. I think really quickly, 13, if we're in a situation like we are today, where we don't really see anything great, maybe keeping a short list of some of these names that are in play theme-wise, because you get a really quick turnaround like this on volume. That might be something playable. I'm sorry.
You're gonna have names that are really speculative, that don't really have these refining or mining operations up yet, and they're just speculative. So they're going to have these kinds of moves. But then you have some of the other ones that already have mining operations that are well established. And those are the ones that I'm interested in holding for the longer term. That would be like, FCX and
Sure.
ALB and some of these really well-established miners that are already, producing, they're already extracting the mineral out of the ground. Because I think when it comes to some of these other names, there's a little bit too much excitement over like, let's say, for example, NAK. They have no operations. They don't even have they're not even allowed to mine yet. But they're still going to trade speculatively until that ends up happening. And once they do, then you're going to probably see all kinds of capital raising and inflows and all this stuff. But they still have a lot of time ahead of them before they need of getting operations going. That's going to be a good portion of time out. I don't necessarily think NAK would be great to hold at that point. I think it would be better once they've come back in some more.
Okay. A number of you folks mentioned TMQ here. You know what? This actually did pull back towards that 9 EMA. It didn't quite test it, and it's actually still a ways away from its VWAP, so I'm not sure how great the setup is here, but this did pull back and bounce. Maybe it does take out the 950. Again, with these metals, battery, minerals, worth keeping on a short list just to see if there's some type of technical action to trade there on any of those. SSKN, this was also one of the movers here. This is getting mentioned in the chat. This is beneath its VWAP. The thing to keep in mind here, again, another back burner play that might really kind of ignite in the in the afternoon. We had pretty good volume here in the pre-market and around the open, but it's dried up a tad. Stock hasn't broken down. So if it holds in here and this volume expands, a move through 233 up towards 260, absolutely possible in terms of a potential trade setup. So SSKN, I don't think this one's done yet. I don't see entry right here. Would really kind of look for volume to be the cue to enter. And actually, pulling this up in my broker, it's basically testing the VWAP as we speak. 234 is that value.
So, Fatty Liver King, for FCX, this is going to depend on what your time horizon is. If you're looking for a short-term trade, it may not be the price here that you want to pick it up at. But if your time horizon is like a year or 2 years, many years out, this might be a pretty good spot to start building a position. That's just my opinion. We could always end up going lower, so I wouldn't just dump everything into it right now. But this is going to be a big copper name, and copper is a critical mineral. And I know Lion's been on this too, but FCX is going to be one of the big players in copper for the U.S. So long term, absolutely, I think this will be good. Jay Rice says he thinks ARM news is hurting ALAB. What's the news we got on that? Or ARM, I should be looking up here. And what is the news with ARM? This is a lot to run through here. Ryan, do you see any news on ARM that could be causing ALAB to come in?
Let me check here real quick. Still kind of looking at SSKN as far as the setup here. This might be one of the better ones. Let me pull up ARM. You're looking for news on ARM, right?
Yeah, that's potentially hurting A-Lab.
Let's see. What do we have here? OpenAI is working with SoftBank's arm on the chip effort. That was a new thing posted by the Information here today. So maybe that's behind a paywall. I can't even get to it. So I can't even really read through that. I'm skeptical that this is the one.
Okay.
But that's all I see here. That's all I see here. OpenAI working with SoftBank's arm on an AI chip effort.
So Jay also mentioning for aluminum critical mineral CNX or CENX, I'm sorry, and AA. Raffle asking about I pronounce it Vale or Vale or whatever. It's a Brazilian mining company. I think it's mostly steel and nickel that they do, or iron and nickel. I mean, I haven't looked at Vale in a while, so I'm not sure what their dividends like or what their chart. Hey, Marcus and Mayhem, how are you doing? Good to see you again. This is everybody. We have the AI, we have the robot man back.
One thing I should mention here. Hopefully the AI joke isn't played. Hopefully we're not pissing Markets and Mayhem off with that. Welcome. Hope you are well.
I said we'll love this chart.
Yeah, you know what? I have to find that on his feed. I can't click on. Well, the chat can click on it. I can't click on it to share it though. From within Restream, I actually have to find your chart on your feed.
All right, and let's see. So yeah, give me a little bit. See if I can pull up some more info on Vale. So I haven't looked at it in a while, like I was saying. So it looks like it did. Wow, it really has come down since 2021. There's a bit of a trend line there too.
That's not the right chart. I thought he was giving me the greed and fear index. Yeah, sorry, Mayhem. I can't click directly on your link from Restream. So, but the chat can. The chat can all view that.
For Vale, it looks like 12 is going to be a pretty interesting resistance area. I'm not sure about it breaking out or reversing or what, but I'm just looking at a daily chart going back almost 10 years, and really $12 does stick out as a support turned resistance area. So that's what I would be looking at for VALE, $12. If we get up there and break through it, we may have something going here. But if we get rejected, then it's just not time yet.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, man! TweetDeck,
all right.
This might be the image that you shared, 13 with me.
What's that?
The circular financing thing here. Let me see if I can get it right. Here's I think isn't this what you shared with me?
That's the same one, yeah.
Same one. Same one.
It's always encouraging when a gentleman like Marcus and Mayhem is looking at the same things I'm looking at. It makes me feel like I'm really doing something right.
Now remember, I'm playing contrarian here. Don't bite my head off. But remember, CoreWeave CEO said he's got demand here. So it's not circular because he's got demand, 6 or 7 years worth of demand from other real high profile companies. So again, just playing devil's advocate, but this is the tweet.
And yes, you're right about that line. It has been a dog, but because it's been a dog, it's now has a great dividend yield of over 10%. Absolutely. Man, TerraWolf really just hasn't let up that much. TMQ approaching 10. Rocket Mortgage really on the recovery. As a matter of fact, 1657 was a bit of a kind of 1655 to 57, bit of a topping out there yesterday after following the impulse move out of the gate. We sold off, covered, found resistance to that area, which is pretty much in line with the pre-market price action. And we continued that a little bit of that sideways price action into the after hours yesterday. Now we're coming back up to all that consolidation. So need to see some big volume to get through all this. TMQ blue skies. Is it really? Is it really up that high? That's where we're getting blue skies. I didn't realize we were going that high up. Let me see here. Let me see here. I mean, well, we've been blue. It looks like we've been in blue skies for some time. Let's see here. Looks like we were in blue skies. And once we broke 4 earlier this month, we've been in blue skies since the gap up. And you're right. But here's the thing: RSI on the daily, it's 88. Don't want to interrupt anybody's long-term plans for this, but if you're trading this is pretty extended. Pretty extended. Let's see here.
Okay, sorry. Please at D. I don't think I know what that means. The great setup on the week in the daily chart for a great swing trade. Chester, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with what you're asking here. And real quick, we do have an all access here today. I think we should be moving over to that here in a minute. Let me check here, 13.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting pretty close to that time.
Yeah, 10:45. So it's 10:43. So 2 minutes, we're going to be going to an all access here, which is awesome because we're going to check in with Dan, see if he got any more winners from this weekend. And we talked about some of his bets last week. We'll do that here real quick, and then we'll do that all access. And then we've got Anne Marie today as well.
Excellent. So we're going to find out some really good options trades, and I'm sure she's got some stuff for us to look at here. So, what do you have any thoughts on what you'd want to ask her about some of these mineral names or some of these names that are kind of speculative?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. The speculative names we kind of hit last time when we talked about quantum being on the huge run. Maybe we could do something similar for some of the material or battery names. Mm-hmm. Maybe she's got a different view on those, as those might be in a different cycle than some of the quantum names. That might be worth something to ask. Absolutely. But I didn't have like a list of tickers ready today. I'd be happy to take them from the chat. I mean, I'm just out here celebrating a Victory Tuesday. So,
hey. Thanks, Kevin. And sorry to interrupt you, but hi, Amanda. And Selena asking about COPX. This has been great. I don't know everything that's in this ETF, but Lion appears to like it.
Real quickly here, D, that was the stock that they were trying to get me to look at here. That's Dominion Energy. If you like the energy as a sector here, maybe this is a pretty decent play. The chart here on the daily and the weekly does look like this is trying to break higher here, maybe a 62 break. And then just kind of looking at this weekly would probably put the next resistance up there at 70. Let me know, Chester, if that tracks with what you were looking at. Has a great setup on the week and daily chart for a swing trade. So he's looking for a break higher here through 62. That might yield 70. Let's see if the daily looks any different. And then we're going to have to get over to Dan here for all access. Yeah, 70.71 looks to be the target there. Here we go. Markets and Mayhem. D is a great company with heavy AI power related demand.
But don't they also have wind farms? And doesn't the current administration hate wind farms? Like he's afraid of them?
Yeah, I think that's probably lesser of an impact than the data center AI power. All right. Okay. In any case, 13. We're out of time. It's going to be time for Dan. Any closing words for the group here?
All right. You know what? We had another great morning with all these movers, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we get tomorrow. It's going to be, I think it's still going to be a wild rest of the month. So let's keep that in mind. But folks, as long as we're continuing to do what we do here every day, we're going to keep making money and we're going to keep protecting ourselves. So let's stick with that. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy Dan, enjoy Anne Marie. They're great. And I'll see you tomorrow for some more fun times. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, really good stuff, 13. We will see him tomorrow. 13's departure leaves room for Dan. Dan, happy Victory Tuesday here. How you doing?
How about those Bears, baby?
How about it, man? Look, in any other year, that's a game that we lose because of the poor coaching. What a difference a quality coach makes. Bears able to get a victory there yesterday. Let me ask you, I did give out some of the bets ideas that you shared with me on Friday. I gave out a 7-leg parlay. Every leg hit except the Cowboys. How on earth did the Cowboys lose to the Panthers?
Yeah, they cost me a bunch of money. By the way, you're welcome for Ben Johnson. You never thanked me.
Oh, I did.
Let me tell you this. I had a brilliant, a lot of the stuff I gave you, I know half that, a bunch of it hit. I lost a brilliant same game parlay on the Lions-Chiefs game, let's not talk about the Lions blowing it. Jahmyr Gibbs needed 3 catches, 3 receptions. He's been averaging 4 or 5 a game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
hit by halftime.
I had the Gibbs reception leg in my parlay as well. Dan, it's a bad beat. That's how it goes. But we have another opportunity this Thursday. Look, more importantly, what do we have coming up here on All Access?
We've got a great one. We got Paul Warley, the CEO of Ascent Solar Technologies. Solar's hot. I know you guys were talking about batteries and quantum. Things are flying right now, man. So very excited to talk with my man, Paul Warley.
Well-timed interview. Let me get out of your hair. I'll see you at the conclusion of this. Take it away, Dan.
Right, always a pleasure, my friend. And hey, Zingers, and welcome to All Access. I've got a wonderful guest for you today. It is Paul Warley, the CEO of Ascent Solar Technologies. Their NASDAQ ticker is ASTI. He's joining us for an exclusive talk today. All Access starts right now. And it is my true pleasure to welcome in the CEO of Ascent Solar Technologies, Paul Warley. Great to be with you today, Paul.
Great to meet with you, Dan. Hope all's well.
Yes, I hope all is well with you. And like we said, solar is hot right now. And I want to ask you this. When it comes to bringing solar energy to extreme environments, we know how important that is. Ascent Solar seems to have a lock on it. First, it was in space, now under the world's oceans. Can you tell us how Ascent's flexible thin film photovoltaic solutions, the PV solutions, are being used in all sorts of very unique and never before seen applications, Paul?
The beauty about our product is it's extremely flexible. It can mold around different stuff. In addition, some of the stuff that's been used in the ocean is a product that is not as efficient as our product, or it's got glass on it, and it's very difficult to protect that. And so we did just sell some cells to somebody that's looking at that. They could have DoD ultimate, or they could have commercial and DoD ultimate buyers. We just sent some product to a company, and unfortunately I can't name these companies, but we sent that to Power in space to test our product.
It does get any better. And like you said, I know you just announced, Paul,
to make.
Yeah, and Paul, I know you just announced, like you mentioned, that the company delivered test samples of that thin film PV technology. Yeah, I think we're having some connection issues. Can you hear me, Paul? You're good. Okay.
I can hear you fine now.
Let's get to this.
Yes.
I know you announced. All right, good. I know you announced recently that you delivered some test samples of the thin film PV technology to an ocean monitoring tech company. What is the company testing that thin film PV technology for?
Basically, they're testing it to put it in the back of their, let's call it ocean craft, okay? And it would hang up, and it runs electric engines, so it can come back up and recharge and die down and come back up and recharge. That's what it's designed to do. And we had to encapsulate it, obviously, because it doesn't work water and electricity don't mix.
Yes, they definitely
got to make sure it is in. Yeah.
Very cool stuff. And I know you also, Paul, announced a cutting edge power using company.
We also sent, and both these people did.
Are you there, Paul? You were breaking up there again.
Connections.
I feel like we're underwater, but let's get above water.
Yeah, let's get above water. Right. Okay. So you're talking about the space beaming part. We actually, a company that does lasering in space, purchased our pieces of our product to do a test on that. And we would be on the receiving end of lasers.
No, it's great. But Paul, how long do you think these companies are going to test Ascent's products? And are you confident we'll turn into some big sales? How big are these test deals for the company?
The tests will probably take a month or two. It's not going to be a huge long period. After that, it would depend how fast other orders come in for the that does type testing. And if they land certain contracts, which is a possibility, again, it's ability, we should be seeing a reasonable amount of orders in late 26 and 27.
And, we alluded to this, obviously a huge market for solar power in extreme environments. When you look at that market opportunity for solar power in those extreme conditions, where do you see it heading in the future, Paul?
Well, as we put more, let's go to the ocean first. With ocean, it's not only, I think it's like the Navy, it's also the Marines, it's the Army, and other places potentially need this in the ocean. In space, the issue there is we're a lot of satellites. You have the issues with space debris and other things. Ours is very resilient in the space debris area, and but you have to have a lot of power. And if you need power, you have large arrays, or you can have smaller arrays, and you can beam power onto the array to power the satellites. So I can't. Things are moving, and how fast and where it goes is we're on pins and needles on that one. Our product does very well with lasers.
Nope. Regardless, very exciting times for a lot of different reasons right now for Ascent Solar Technologies. Paul, it's always a pleasure talking with you. I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Dan, and have a great rest of the day.
You as well. Look forward to talking to you again soon. That was the CEO of Ascent Solar Technologies, the great Paul Warley. Their NASDAQ ticker is ASTI. Now let's send it back to the inspiration for the Jitterbug, the great Ryan Faluna. Jitterbug.
Oh man, I'm disappointed that you picked Jitterbug because I'm also the inspiration behind the Charleston dance, which I prefer a lot more.
Well, I also heard I heard you invented Charleston Chew as well, one of my favorite candies as a kid.
Yes, that's true. Also, Dan, we have to save some of this for other shows and throwbacks here. You can't just
I've got endless facts about you and myself.
I don't know if I should be worried or not, but Dan, okay, really good stuff there, and A+ grade there for battling through some of the tech issues, which we're no stranger to here on this. Really good stuff. Look, I'm just going to go ahead and tease it here. Clear schedule. I think we'll check in with you later in the week for maybe some more bets to give out.
100%, and hopefully these Blue Jays can get their head above water. I don't know what the heck's going on there.
I was trying not to bring that pick up because that looks really bad.
But they're my bad ones. It's fine. 2-0. How can you go down 10-3 at home after scoring 10 runs a game? If they don't win Game 3, that thing's over.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. They're going to need Vladdy to help there. Vladdy Dotty, we like to potty. We'll see how it goes. Dan, really good stuff. We'll check in with you next time. Have a good one. That is the endless amount of energy from Dan Leach. We'll continue to check in with him, see if we can't get some banker bets to build your bankroll for the weekend. But right now, move to Anne-Marie. She's going to also help you build your trading bankroll here. Anne-Marie, happy Victory Tuesday. How are you doing here today?
I'm doing well. I was so impressed with how Dan was able to wait on the responses for the guest because it was just I was just impressed.
Me too, Anne-Marie, because look, you and I are both no strangers to audio and delay issues. We've seen our fair share of them. And I'll tell you what, that delay is one of the hardest things to just roll through. You can tell Dan's been doing this for a long time. We're actually able to get some really good answers out of that too. So really good stuff. Look, we got some odd action here. The last time you and I were together, the market was absolutely falling apart. It was red arrows everywhere. People were panicked. Some people were cheering for the demise of the United States, but we won't go there. Over the weekend, we got a comment on that it's going to all be just fine. Had a really good bounce back day yesterday, but some more weakness here today. So make sense of it for us. What are you seeing out there, and how can we set up some trades to take advantage of it?
So first of all, I want to show us the heat map to see, to get one thing in mind, and that is this is not broad-based selling at all, right? Some specific spaces are pulling back, and those places have been doing really, really well. So that's the first thing. It is in general a risk-off day, simply because staples and the stronger, bigger behemoths in the market are holding steady, and there's some profit taking across the way. The reason that I suspect that the market is doing what it's doing is a little bit twofold. The first is media is sort of jumping down the bandwagon of let me parse out what's going to get clickbait, and that's going to be, hey, we're fighting, hey, we're not fighting, hey, we're fighting, hey, we're not fighting. And so what we are looking at is a little bit of back and forth. Now, this is what's really important. On the weekly and monthly measures for options, we have a call wall that is sitting above at 670, and we have a put wall sitting here at 650. Now, we came into the low edge, just about the low edge of last week in SPY, and we bounced. And so that is a really nice space for us to say, all right, that means I've got an inside trade inside the week. So what do I like to do here? My favorite thing to look at, folks, in terms of seeing what's going on is to draw Fibonacci off of the prior week and look at that 50% line. That 50% line is going to be a line in the sand. And if we do not close a day or the week above this line, we're going to have more downside pressure. But if we hold it and move above it, it's back to the races. So let's take a look at our little seasonality lines right here, right? You see the sharp fade down here?
Mm-hmm.
It's the little V. Almost every single stock I look at through this lens shows me this V shape. And so it tells me that we're going to have a sideways pocket that's going to last for about a week and a half. But come October 22nd, October 27th, somewhere around there, we're going to have a recovery, and it's going to move back up to the north. So if you're staring that down and you're like, all right, well, how do I position? That depends on how long you want to sit in the trade. If you are a doom and gloom kind of person and you're like, I don't care what you're saying, this time is different, we're going to the floorboards, then grab your blanket and your teddy and head for under the bed and buy yourself some puts. However, if not, and you say, hey, let me take a look at the stats, it says you can take a quick short for a couple of days, but if it doesn't pay you immediately within the next week, unwind it, sit back, and wait for that price action in the SPY to break above that 662, 663, and then, you know, it's a pretty nice move. We got a little bit of wiggle in the beginning of November, and then, you know, into December, it looks really, really good. I put on a butterfly for December at I think I used 675 to 700 to 725. And I had somebody ask me, how in the world can you go long the market with everything looking like this? I'm like, because the market normally goes up after it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm seeing in seasonality. So that being said, we've had some earnings. So
Let me ask you a really quick question on the seasonality leg of what you were just saying there. Since we did not see what we anticipated in September, does that then change the way you view October, or is it just,
yes.
we'll see if we get it. If we don't, we don't?
Yeah. So my thought is we've had that little, nothing happened in September, essentially, right? We
Mhm.
had like a day and a half, and September was really nice. But the market has a tendency to take a breath between the third and the fourth quarter. It normally comes in September, and October is normally a bullish month, but that doesn't mean it won't pull back before it bounces. And so I'm still thinking the rhythm is the same. We just, what's the old math term? We've translated, a few days forward in time. And so we're seeing this little bit of pullback. And so it almost emphasizes the fact that we should have a little breath because we didn't have one before. And we know that the fourth quarter is a great place for strength overall in the markets.
Okay. That's helpful. All right. Did you want to do any earnings plays here today?
Absolutely. So we had some that reported before the market.
Yeah, here's the calendar for this week. So this morning we had Citi, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Johnson & Johnson, BlackRock, Domino's, also Albertsons and Ericsson here. I'm looking ahead here. It looks like we had a lot of banks kind of kick it off here today. Anne-Marie, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this, but the most interesting one here to me is going to be ASML, which is a thing behind the thing for the AI and semiconductors. That reports Wednesday before the market opens. Morgan Stanley, perhaps you could throw in there. We did see the airlines were green earlier today. United Airlines reports on Wednesday after hours. So I would say between those three are probably the three that I'm the most interested in. Honorable mention to Interactive Brokers on Thursday after hours. But what do you like here? What do you think we should go after?
Okay, so we can do a setup into earnings and then moving forward. So let's start with ASML. And I think a post-earnings trade in either Goldman or JP Morgan if we have time. So let's take a look at this. What we are seeing in this chart is a fair bit of strength. And I think it's funny that you called it the thing behind the thing. And, that obviously is pretty important.
Yeah.
Let's take a peek at how these guys respond in the near term from earnings. It looks to be a little bit of a cross current here. And so let's go back a few. Big fade here in July of 24, and then another fade October of 24. Let's see what October did last year. That was a big bounce up. And then October here, it took a while and then recovered a little. So let's see what happens in October. All right, so bounce here. Okay, so fourth quarter motion is essentially bullish in terms of forward motion. And so we're going to stick with that. And so let's think about how that might look. Some folks saying, holy cow, does that look like a topping business?
And then kind of like a double top? What the hell's going on here?
Or it could be just a cup and handle. Now, seasonality motion shows very bullish into the end of the year, right? This is a 10-year move. This is a 5-year move. And so my thought is 1100 let's see what we can get from the chains if we go into, how about, let's do November, right? Vol is a little off. You can do a couple of things. Where is it? Prior high is 1050 to 1100. So let's see if we just use November and we go, oh, look at how many are sitting right here. Open interest. So that's 1060. Also 1100. So that's 40 points. So 1140. $2.80 for a $4,000 upside move. Now, you might go, gee whiz, Emery, that's what if it doesn't do that? Well, you put a stop, and if it fades to 50%, then you get out of the trade. So you literally have $140 at risk. There's not a lot of volume here. So that's something that might be a concern for you. If you're thinking, hey, if it's bullish, why can't I just go flat out bullish? You can. You can go 1060 to 1080. It's $2,000 of upside for $490 of risk, right? Again, you use 50% and you say, hey, if this moves down, then I'm out. Or you could wait until after the earnings when the vol comes in a little, implied vol comes in a little, and then you can get yourself an upside pressure event. My thought, for me, based on what the seasonality is saying, if you're staring things down the way I like to look at them, I'm going to say 1120, and I'm going to try and sell 2 1200s, right? And it's going to cost me, if it goes where I think it's going to go, which is up, it's going to take a fair bit of premium to margin, but that's $8,000 of upside. And so I'm okay with paying $25 for that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hard when the options are thin and also fairly expensive.
I was going to say this one, I think I was the most excited for because you're correct. It is thin and expensive. I actually do like that butterfly there for November, though. I like that. That's
especially
palatable.
If you say to yourself, you put it in the queue and go, hey, listen, if it hits this level, sell it. I'm out. And that keeps you on the right side. Because I think we're going to have a few market fluctuations before then, I don't know that there's anything wrong with just waiting for a hot minute.
So let me ask you a question here, because this is actually something that I've never done. Every time I've exited a butterfly, I've gone and produced a closing order, and the trade is filled at one point or another. But I've never actually set like a stop limit order on the butterfly. Is that something that can be done? Is it fairly reliable for actually getting those fills, or do you want to just make sure that you get it filled if you get down there?
The thing about it is I would first, it depends on how liquid the chains are.
Okay.
And it depends on if you have a market order or a limit order, right? So you're going to experience slippage if you get a market order that says, hey, listen, as soon as this butterfly tests this, sell at market, you're going to get slippage. And if the liquidity is thin, the guys on the other side are going to take you out of the woodshed and have some fun with you. So from that, I'm a little punchy today. I'm very sorry about my
You
my
should not
better.
be sorry. You
So-
should not be sorry. I'll be honest with you. I'm looking for more terms from the 50s that we can incorporate into the show here on a regular basis. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I say heavens to Betsy from now on. So we'll keep doing that. That's not you be as punchy as you want to be. We're
Oh
gonna
my
be fine.
gosh, hilarious. So the goal ideally would be set the middle strike and put an alert there. And if you're concerned about real slippage, then you could set the opening strike alert so that your eyeballs don't miss what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it really has a lot to do with whether the chains are liquid or not. If the chains are illiquid, I'm going to put a price on the stock to tell me, go have a look. And I'm going to sell something at limit, fingers crossed, but I'm not going to sell something at market if the chains are thin.
Okay. I was just wondering. I would have used a stop limit too. I was just wondering what the feasibility is on that getting filled, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the other one on Thursday that we were staring down?
Okay, so ASML, I thought that was the big one. I believe that was on Wednesday. The other one that's on Thursday after hours is Interactive Brokers. But you know what? Now that I'm looking at this again, I'm just blind. We have TSMC. Ticker TSM on Thursday morning. That one, that should even trump even ASML. I think we should do that one next.
I can't find this symbol.
No, it's TSM. The name of the company is TSMC. The ticker's TSM. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. All right, so this one's got a little wiggle sitting here into earnings. Let's see how it normally behaves on the third quarter. October, fade, and then a bounce. The bounce starts in November. Let's see what we have here. October, couple of weeks. October, couple of weeks. October. All right, so it looks like January is the space where this thing really does take a lift off, right? Every January, we see really a few weeks where it runs pretty hot. And so if we choose an option event here, I'd want to give it a little bit of time since my seasonality bars are showing fades into about the 20th or 21st. And so, you know, let's give it a go. Oh, wow. Do I have something set up here already? Oh, I have a 1x3x2.
I'll tell you what, that one with the middle body there at 300, we're at 296 right here. It looks like that one worked.
Yeah, for sure. Very nicely. All right, so let's take ourselves a clean slate. And if we want this one, if we want this butterfly to work, we can go into January where it's got, 2-3 weeks of upside in general. And then let me take a look at what that chart number is. All right. See how it's got that January spike? We can see that really nicely. Let's use the lower edge. That's 340. All right. So, here are all the traders going to 330 and then 350 and then 370. All right. Seasonality puts this one with an entry point of $160 of risk with $2,000 of upside. Now, because it's got a wiggle, it might not be a bad idea to let it go through earnings and then pick it up. Or if you are a gambling man, you might say, hey, let me see if I can get something on the cheap. If this fades to the base of support, 275 maybe, 270. All right. We could easily look at, let's see where the vol is big. 31st of October. We could go here and say, let's say it goes 265, 255, 245. It's 50 cents of exposure for $1,000 of upside. If it happens to pull back, might be something that you would want to take first and then take this second, or you could take them both at the same time, right? And you could get out of the put if you get some upside there from the bearish pullback. So that's my thought there. Yeah, I see that pullback pretty nice. I do. See that pullback pretty nice. All right. Any others?
No, I don't have any. Does anyone else out there have any? I mean, I'm sure I can come up with something.
Yeah,
do you want to do a
go to
post
Goldman.
earnings trade on Goldman? Yeah, I was going to say, let's do that.
Goldman right here. So have a peek. Seasonality is working out just like this chart says. Look at this 3 down weeks. Let's take a peek at, let's clear the drawing set. Right. So we're looking at a weekly, still a lot of buyers. So we know the dips are going to get bought. What happens when we come into this moving average? I think this is a moving average that Tim likes. So what is this 20? No. Yeah. Tim likes a 20, doesn't he? 20 moving average? I can't remember.
Yeah, 20, 50, and 200 simples, I think, are his favorite because that's his momentum trifecta. So
my thought is, take a look at what this chart has done. Look at how long it's been since it tested the 20 simple moving average. And so this looks like a support floor to me. And so my suspicion would be, I'm going to wait. I want to get an alert here. I'm going to wait until it comes in just a little more. I'm going to trust that wiggle. And then I'm going to say, all right, sharp upside into November when it sort of gets sideways again. And then, Santa Claus rally action up here in the chart back up at the 825. So if I do the same thing and I say, hey, listen, I'm looking for, here's my thought, folks. We have markets that are trending upward, but are more volatile than we have seen them in the past. So the way we allow ourselves to make money over the long haul is not like the way it was when we're going straight up week after week after week after week. So we could go quick strike week after week after week after week, and we're making money quickly. But in these formations, we have no idea what the range is going to move like from one day to the other. And if you've got an option that's only got 5 days to expiry, it's going to hurt if you're not sitting in the right direction. So my thought is, come along with Grandma Annie. No secrets there, folks. I am a girl. Even though I get told I'm bossy all the time, but that's just a guy being assertive. So as we move into this space, why not say, hey, you know what? Let me see if I can get that 800. There's volume there, right? If I go something simple like 800 to 810, that's $3, 380 for $700 of upside or $620 of upside, that's pretty nice. If you say, hey, I think the Santa Claus rally might be pretty good, I'll do the 800 to 830 to 860. It's about the same price, but 3 times as much upside from that perspective. So a lot of choices there. You could also do something super simple, like if it fades for a couple of days, then you can look at this and say, you know, how do I fund my move? Here is the last major space. That's about 650. You can say, you know what? I'm going to sell the 650. Wow. These spreads are terrible. That's because nobody's here.
Yeah.
Let's spread. Oh, plus we'd want it earlier. We'd want this in November or December.
You know, though, so you're thinking about the strike. Here's my thing with Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
I got to think that the IPO market probably done for the rest of the year.
Uh-huh.
But I think next year, probably early, we probably see some humongous deals.
Yeah.
Anthropic, Databricks, some of these big AI players that are likely going to. I think if you see new IPOs of huge AI names, stocks like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, some of these investment bankers, those have to be good plays.
Yeah. Agreed.
And so I actually feel better about trading these early next year, providing we get the landscape I'm thinking, than for the tail end of this year. But
yeah,
I've been surprised before and I'm wrong plenty of other times. So
yeah. So, you know, I don't see anybody on the put side. Look at this. There's
this is for the December contract, right?
Yeah, there's nobody there. Absolutely not a soul. That's very interesting. So maybe it's, you know, you could sell a put spread to make some money to help pay for this long call spread. But to me, if we just trade the seasonality and we go, hey, listen, I got a 50% stop loss. If I lose $150, I'm out. But if this runs like I think it's going to run, I got $3,000 of upside.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Okay.
I'm all for it, and I think those will work pretty well.
I like it, and I want to have some exposure to Goldman Sachs, and I don't right now. So this might be one way to do it. Okay, you think we can sneak in a JPM to end it round out the show here? Okay, great.
Absolutely. Well, doesn't JPM clear the Fed trades?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, I think they do, and of course you can see the wiggle. Every single one of them. Everybody has this wiggle that we're seeing right here, but I think this is another place with some pretty good upside and a pretty shallow November sideways action event. So let's say we go 325, 335, 345 and see what that gives us in January. $325. A lot of action here in the chains here. Actually, you know what? There's more motion at the 340. So let's make it $15 wide, and then $15 wide here. $1.48 into January. Also very nice. $2,000. $1,500 of upside. And again, with the butterfly, you have to say to yourself, okay, it's not the same as going out and buying your stock and saying, hey, I'm going to do 10,000 here or whatever. These are big strikes if they hit, but small losses if they miss. So use them accordingly and spatter them in with your regular motion. Clearly, the charts have got, pretty solid pressure to the upside into the end of the year. right? And so my thought is, if you're looking at something like that, you can help pay for this in the next few days of potential pullback by selling a spread. And you can sell the spread at the bottom of baseline support, which really goes all the way back to June. If they come into this 280 level, they are probably going to buy it. And so that spread, even if you only went 5 wide, it gives you almost the whole price of that amount of money you'll be spending on the call side up there.
Interesting. Okay, so you can finance one with the other.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Okay, King F says Anne-Marie is the best.
Oh,
We already knew that, but this is really good stuff here. And good job, Anne-Marie, making some sense of this crazy market. You got any gut feeling for how we finish up here this week? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with that. I'm sorry.
I love that. I love that putting on the spot. It gets my noodle working a little. So if you're looking for another 50s comment, the noodle. So I wasn't even born remotely near the 50s. So I just like the throwback stuff. Anyways, my thought is higher volatility, sideways action. I don't see any dips that are not going to get bought at this juncture. So if you come in and you're like, holy smokes, what is happening? Tuck your hands onto your thighs and go, I am not touching any buttons. I'm looking for a good place to buy my favorites. And they're going to come. They're going to come for you. Right now, just a little bit of profit taking, a little bit of rotation. It's nothing dramatic because it's not all red.
Yeah.
See if
it
it's
was
all
like that
red.
on Friday.
Yeah, it did look pretty bad.
It did look like that on Friday, but you know what a difference a day makes. I mean, that the weekend, it really kind of firmed up a little bit. So,
yeah.
Okay. Anne-Marie, this is awesome. You're the bee's knees. How about that?
All right.
How about that? All right, Anne-Marie, we're going to see you on Friday again, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Anne-Marie, take care. Really good stuff here. We'll catch up with you on Friday. Have a good one. That is Anne-Marie, folks. Really good options trades there. And yeah, we're going to bring back some older vocabulary here. We're going to make it cool again. That's what we do. Make 50s vernacular great again. We'll come up with something for that. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you over to Paul Meeks for Tech Tune-Up. You don't have to go anywhere. Just sit tight. 13 and I will be back tomorrow. We'll bring on Tim Melvin. Have a great rest of your Victory Tuesday, everybody. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused, and we'll see you next week. Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. I apologize, producer. No Paul this week. So enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.